In the fog-shrouded Ravenwood Manor, a woman lies dead, a girl vanishes, and cryptic notes signed, "A friend," taunt Hercule Poirot. A secret society, the Order of the Cat, guards a deadly treasure. Blood trails, blue scarves, and hidden tunnels lead to a killer hiding among a cast of liars. With time running out, Poirot unravels lies, exposes a murderous past, and faces the cat in a heart-pounding showdown. Will he save the girl and catch the killer before the manor claims another life? Dive into Poirot's most dangerous case. Chapter 1. The whisper in the fog. London was cold that night. The kind of cold that sneaks into your bones and makes you pull your coat tighter. Fog hung over the streets like a heavy blanket, thick and gray, swallowing lamplights and turning them into blurry yellow smudges. It was late October, and the city felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Hercule Poirot, the famous detective with his neat mustache and sharp eyes, walked quickly through the mist. His polished shoes clicked on the wet cobblestones, the only sound in the quiet night. Poirot was not a man who liked surprises. He liked order, neatness, and facts that fit together like pieces of a puzzle. But tonight something felt off. He could not say why. Maybe it was the fog, so thick it hid the world. Maybe it was the strange letter in his pocket, the one that had arrived at his flat that morning. Or maybe it was the feeling in his gut, the one that told him trouble was coming. He pulled his coat closer and kept walking. His destination was a small cafe on Baker Street, a place called the Copper Kettle. It was a cozy spot with warm lights and the smell of fresh coffee. Poirot liked it because it was quiet, a good place to think. And tonight, he needed to think. The letter in his pocket was not like the usual ones he got. Most letters asking for his help were polite, clear, and full of details. This one was different. It was short, written in a shaky hand, and it gave him a chill when he read it. "Dear Monsieur Poirot," it said, "you are needed at Ravenwood Manor. Come at once. Danger is close. Do not trust anyone." A friend, that was all. No name, no address, just those few words on plain paper stuffed in a cheap envelope. Poirot had turned it over in his hands, looking for clues. The handwriting was messy, like the writer was scared or in a hurry. The ink was black, smudged, in places. The postmark said it came from a village called Blackthorn, a place Poirot had never heard of. He had spent the morning trying to find Blackthorn on a map, but it was not easy. The village was small, tucked away in the countryside, far from London's noise and lights. Why would someone from such a place write to him? And why so vague? Poirot did not like vague. He liked facts, clear and sharp, like the edge of a knife. But the letter had hooked him. It was a challenge, and Hercule Poirot never turned down a challenge. At the Copper Kettle, he pushed open the door. A bell jingled above his head. The cafe was nearly empty, just a few people sitting at tables, sipping tea or reading newspapers. The air smelled of coffee and warm bread. Poirot took off his hat and coat, hung them on a rack, and chose a table in the corner. He liked corners. They let him watch everyone without being noticed. A waitress, a young woman with red hair and a friendly smile, came over. "Evening, sir. What can I get you?" "Coffee, black, no sugar," Poirot said, his voice smooth with a hint of his Belgian accent. "And perhaps a scone, if they are fresh." "Fresh as can be," she said, scribbling on her notepad. "Be right back." Poirot leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping lightly on the table. He pulled the letter from his pocket and read it again, though he knew it by heart. "Danger is close. Do not trust anyone." The words felt heavy, like they carried a secret too big for the paper. Who was this friend? Why Ravenwood Manor? And why him? The waitress returned with his coffee and scone. "Here you go, sir. Anything else?" "No, thank you," Poirot said, giving her a polite nod. She walked away, and he took a sip of the coffee. It was strong, just how he liked it. He broke off a piece of the scone and ate it, his mind working fast. He needed more information. A letter like this was not enough. He had to know who sent it, what the danger was, and why they thought he could help. As he sat there, the door jingled again. A man walked in, tall and thin, with a long coat and a scarf wrapped around his neck. His face was half hidden by a wide-brimmed hat, and he moved quickly like he did not want to be seen. Poirot's eyes narrowed. He noticed things others missed. The way the man's hands shook slightly, the way he glanced over his shoulder before sitting down at a table near the window. Poirot sipped his coffee, watching the man from the corner of his eye. The stranger ordered tea, his voice low, almost a whisper. The waitress nodded and left. The man pulled a small notebook from his pocket and began writing, his pen moving fast. Every few seconds he looked up, scanning the room. His eyes passed over Poirot but did not linger. Still, Poirot felt a prickle on the back of his neck. This man was nervous, scared, maybe, and scared people were often part of a mystery. Poirot decided to act. He stood smoothing his jacket and walked toward the man's table. "Pardon me, monsieur," he said, his voice calm but firm. "May I join you for a moment?" The man froze, his pen stopping mid-word. He looked up, his eyes wide under the brim of his hat. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice tight. "Hercule Poirot," Poirot said, giving a small bow. "I am a detective, and you, I think, are a man with a problem." The man's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice shook. He shoved the notebook into his pocket and stood knocking over his chair. "Leave me alone." Before Poirot could say another word, the man hurried out of the cafe, the door slamming behind him. Poirot frowned. He did not like being ignored, and he did not like mysteries that ran away. He walked to the man's table and looked down. There on the floor was a small piece of paper torn from the notebook. Poirot picked it up and read it. Ravenwood. Midnight. Trust no one. His heart beat faster. The same words as his letter. The same place. This was no coincidence. Poirot slipped the paper into his pocket and returned to his table. He needed to get to Blackthorn. He needed to find Ravenwood Manor, and he needed to know what was waiting for him there. The next morning, Poirot was on a train, heading out of London. The city's gray buildings gave way to green fields and small villages. The train rattled along, its whistle sharp in the crisp air. Poirot sat by a window, his suitcase on the seat beside him. He had packed light. A few clothes, his notebook, and a small pistol just in case. Poirot did not like guns, but he was not foolish. If danger was close, as the letter said, he would be ready. The train stopped at a tiny station in the middle of nowhere. A sign read, Blackthorn. Poirot stepped onto the platform, the cold air hitting his face. The station was empty except for an old man sweeping the platform. Poirot approached him. "Excuse me, monsieur. Can you tell me the way to Ravenwood Manor?" The old man looked up, his eyes narrow. "Ravenwood? You don't want to go there." "Sir, that place is bad news." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Bad news? How so?" The man leaned on his broom. "Strange things happen at Ravenwood. People talk about lights in the windows at night, voices in the fog, and folks who go there, they don't always come back." Poirot's mustache twitched. "I am not afraid of stories, monsieur. I seek the truth. Now, the way, if you please." The old man sighed and pointed down a dirt road. "Follow that path for 2 miles. You'll see the manor, big old place, falling apart. Can't miss it." Poirot tipped his hat. "Thank you." He started walking, his suitcase in one hand, his mind racing. The old man's words did not scare him, but they made him curious. What kind of place was Ravenwood Manor, and why did it have such a bad reputation? The road was muddy, and the fog was still thick, even in the countryside. Trees lined the path, their branches bare and twisted. The air smelled of damp earth and leaves. Poirot walked carefully, his shoes sinking slightly into the ground. He did not like dirt. He liked clean streets and polished floors. But a case was a case, and he would not let a little mud stop him. After what felt like hours, he saw it. Ravenwood Manor loomed out of the fog, a huge house with tall windows and a sagging roof. It looked old, older than the trees around it. Ivy climbed its walls and the front gate was rusted, hanging off its hinges. Poirot stopped and studied the house. It did not look welcoming. It looked like a place where secrets lived. He pushed open the gate, which creaked loudly. A path led to the front door, overgrown with weeds. Poirot walked up the steps and knocked. The sound echoed inside like the house was empty. He waited, his hand on the doorknob. No one answered. He knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. Poirot frowned. He did not like being ignored. He tried the door, and to his surprise it was unlocked. It opened with a groan, revealing a dark hallway. Dust floated in the air, and the smell of mold hit his nose. Poirot stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. The hallway was long, with faded wallpaper and a staircase leading up into shadows. "Hello?" he called. His voice bounced off the walls. No answer. He took a step forward, his shoes loud on the wooden floor. Something crunched under his foot. He looked down and saw a piece of broken glass. He bent to pick it up, careful not to cut himself. It was part of a picture frame. The picture was gone, but the glass had a smear of something red. Paint? Blood? Poirot could not tell. He slipped the glass into his pocket and moved deeper into the house. The air was cold, and the silence was heavy. He passed a door that led to a sitting room. Inside, furniture was covered with white sheets, like ghosts waiting to wake up. A fireplace sat empty, its ashes long cold. Poirot's eyes scanned the room looking for clues. He saw nothing out of place, but the feeling in his gut grew stronger. This house was hiding something. He climbed the staircase, each step creaking under his weight. At the top was another hallway, lined with closed doors. Poirot opened the first one. It led to a bedroom, the bed unmade, blankets tossed aside. A window was open, letting in the cold air. Poirot walked to it and looked out. The fog was thick, but he could see the garden below, overgrown and wild. Something moved in the shadows. A person? An animal? He could not be sure. He left the room and tried the next door. It was locked. He knocked, but no one answered. He moved to the next door, then the next, all locked. His frown deepened. Why lock every door in an empty house? He was about to turn back when he heard it, a whisper, soft and quick, coming from the end of the hall. Poirot froze. His hand went to his pocket, where the pistol sat. "Who is there?" he called. The whisper stopped. Silence again. He walked toward the sound, his heart steady but his senses sharp. At the end of the hall was a door different from the others. It was heavy, made of dark wood, with a brass handle. Poirot tried it. Locked, of course. He pressed his ear to the door. Nothing. But he was sure he had heard something. He knocked hard. "Open the door, please. I am Hercule Poirot, and I mean no harm." No answer. He stepped back, thinking. The letter had brought him here. The note in the cafe had said midnight. It was only noon now, but Poirot did not like waiting. He needed answers. He looked around for something to pick the lock. In a dusty corner he found a hairpin, dropped long ago. It would do. Poirot knelt by the door, working the hairpin into the lock. He was not a thief, but he knew a trick or two. The lock clicked and the door swung open. Inside was a study with bookshelves and a large desk. Papers were scattered across it, and a chair was tipped over like someone had left in a hurry. Poirot stepped inside, his eyes sharp. On the desk was a photograph in a silver frame. It showed a group of people, 5 men and 3 women, all smiling. They stood in front of Ravenwood Manor, but the house looked newer, less broken. Poirot studied their faces. One man looked familiar, but he could not place him. He set the photo down and picked up a letter from the pile. It was addressed to Lord Ravenwood. Poirot's eyebrows went up. A lord? That was new. The letter was short, written in the same shaky hand as the one in his pocket. They know. Leave now. A friend. Poirot's mind raced. The same writer. the same warning. But who was they? And why was Lord Ravenwood in danger? He searched the desk, finding more papers, bills, receipts, a map of the estate. Nothing gave him answers, but everything added to the puzzle. He heard a noise downstairs, a door slamming. He froze, listening. Footsteps, heavy and fast, coming, up the stairs. Poirot slipped the letter into his pocket and moved to the door, his hand on the pistol. The footsteps stopped. Silence again. Then a voice, low and rough. "Who's there?" Poirot stepped into the hallway, his face calm but his eyes sharp. A man stood at the top of the stairs, tall and broad, with a scarred face and a coat covered in mud. He held a lantern, its light cutting through the gloom. "I am Hercule Poirot," Poirot said. "And you are?" The man's eyes narrowed. "You're trespassing. This is private property." "I was invited," Poirot said, holding up the letter. "By a friend." The man's face changed just for a second. Fear, anger. Poirot could not tell. "You shouldn't be here," the man said. "Get out." "Not yet," Poirot said. "There is a mystery here, and I intend to solve it." The man took a step forward, his hand reaching into his coat. Poirot's fingers tightened on the pistol. But before either could act, a scream tore through the house, sharp and full of terror. It came from outside, from the garden. The man cursed and ran down the stairs. Poirot followed, his heart pounding. The fog was thicker now, swallowing the garden. The scream came again, weaker this time. Poirot ran toward it, the man ahead of him. They pushed through bushes and vines, the fog making it hard to see. There, in a clearing, was a body. A woman, young, with dark hair, lying on the ground. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. Blood stained her dress, pooling around her. Poirot knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. Nothing. She was dead. The man with the lantern stood over him, breathing hard. "Who is she?" Poirot asked. "I don't know," the man said, but his voice shook. Poirot did not believe him. He stood, his mind working fast. The letter, the note, the locked doors, the photograph, and now, a body. This was no ordinary case. This was dangerous, just as the letter had said. Poirot looked at the man, then at the fog, thick and silent. Somewhere in that fog were answers, and he would find them. He turned to the man. "We must call the police. And you, monsieur, will tell me everything you know." The man's eyes darted to the trees like he wanted to run, but he nodded. "Fine, but you won't like what you hear." Chapter 2. A Letter from the Unknown. The fog clung to Ravenwood Manor like a ghost that wouldn't leave. Hercule Poirot stood in the garden, his polished shoes sinking into the wet earth. The dead woman lay before him, her dark hair spread out, like a fan on the ground. Blood stained her dress, dark and sticky, pooling in the grass. The man with the scarred face and the lantern stood nearby, his breath coming in short, sharp puffs. His eyes kept darting to the trees, as if he expected something or someone to jump out of the fog. Poirot's mind was sharp, cutting through the shock of the moment. A body meant a crime meant a motive, and a motive meant secrets. He knelt beside the woman again, his small hands steady as he examined her. She was young, maybe 25, with pale skin and wide, empty eyes. A thin gold chain hung around her neck, a locket glinting in the dim light. Poirot gently opened it. Inside was a tiny photograph of a man, too small to make out clearly. He slipped the locket into his pocket, careful not to disturb the body more than needed. "Who is she?" Poirot asked again, his voice calm but firm, like a teacher waiting for an answer. The man with the lantern shifted his weight. "I told you I don't know her," he said, but his voice cracked like a boy caught in a lie. Poirot's mustache twitched. He did not believe the man, not for a second. People who told the truth didn't look away or fidget like that. "Your name, monsieur," Poirot said, standing and brushing dirt from his knees. "And why you are here." The man hesitated, his scarred face half hidden in the lantern's glow. "John Carver," he said finally. I'm the groundskeeper. I look after the manor. Groundskeeper? Poirot glanced at the overgrown garden, the weeds choking the paths. You do not seem to look after it very well. Carver's jaw tightened. It's a big place, hard to keep up alone. Alone? Poirot's eyes narrowed. No one else lives here. Carver looked away toward the manor's dark windows. Not anymore. Poirot filed that away in his mind like a note in his notebook. Carver was hiding something, but now was not the time to push. The scream, the body, the fog. It was all part of a puzzle, and Poirot needed more pieces. We must call the police, he said. This is a crime scene. Carver nodded, but he didn't move. Nearest phone's in the village, 2 miles back. Then we go, Poirot said. He turned toward the manor, then stopped. But first I must see the house again. There are answers inside, I think. Carver's eyes widened. You can't go poking around, this place ain't safe. Not safe? Poirot raised an eyebrow. Because of her? He nodded toward the body. Or because of something else? Carver didn't answer, just gripped, his lantern tighter. Poirot turned and walked back to the manor, his shoes crunching on the gravel. Carver followed, muttering under his breath. The fog seemed thicker now, wrapping the house in a gray shroud. Poirot pushed open the front door, the creak loud in the silence. The hallway was just as he'd left it, dark, dusty, and cold. The broken glass from the picture frame still lay on the floor, glinting faintly. Poirot moved to the staircase, his eyes scanning every corner. He wanted to see the study again, the one with the scattered papers and the photograph. Carver trailed, behind, his lantern casting long shadows on the walls. You shouldn't be here, Carver said again, his voice low. This place, it's got a bad history. Tell me, Poirot said, not turning around. What history? Carver hesitated. Folks say Ravenwood's cursed. Been that way since the old lord died. Strange things happen. Lights at night. Noises. People disappear. Poirot stopped at the top of the stairs. Disappear? Like her? He pointed back toward the garden, though the fog hid it from view. Carver swallowed. Maybe. I don't know. Poirot's mind worked fast. A cursed house, a dead woman, a groundskeeper who knew more than he said, and a letter, the one in his pocket, warning of danger. He reached the study door, still unlocked from his earlier visit. He stepped inside, the air heavy with the smell of old books and dust. The desk was as he'd left it, papers scattered, the photograph in its silver frame staring up at him. He picked up the photograph again. 8 people, 5 men, 3 women, stood in front of the manor, smiling like they had no cares. The house looked newer then, its windows bright, its walls free of ivy. Poirot studied the faces. One man, tall with dark hair and a sharp jaw, looked familiar. Was it the man from the cafe, the one with the notebook? Or someone else? He couldn't be sure. Carver stood in the doorway watching. What's that? He asked, nodding at the photograph. A clue, perhaps, Poirot said. He set it down and picked up another paper from the desk. It was a letter, different from the one he'd found before. This one was typed, neat and formal, addressed to Lord Ravenwood. It read, Your secrets are not safe. Leave Ravenwood by midnight or the truth will be told. A friend. Poirot's heart beat faster. Another letter, another warning, signed the same way as his. A friend. Who was this person and why so many warnings? He turned to Carver. Who is Lord Ravenwood? Carver's face went pale. He's dead. Died years ago. Heart attack, they said. They said. Poirot's voice was sharp. You do not believe it? Carver shrugged, but his eyes wouldn't meet Poirot's. That's what they said. Poirot slipped the letter into his pocket, next to the others. He was about to ask more when a noise came from downstairs, a soft thump like a door closing. Carver froze, his lantern shaking. Poirot's hand went to his pistol just in case. Stay here, he said, moving to the door. No chance, Carver muttered, following close behind. They crept down the stairs, the lantern's light bouncing off the walls. The hallway was empty, but the front door was slightly open, swaying in the breeze. Poirot frowned. He had closed it when they came in. Someone else was here. He stepped outside, the fog thicker than ever. The garden was a blur of gray shapes, the body still lying in the clearing. Poirot scanned the area, his eyes sharp. Something moved in the fog, a shadow, quick and silent, darting between the trees. "Who's there?" he called, his voice cutting through the mist. No answer. Carver gripped his lantern, his knuckles white. "We need to go," he said. "Now." "Not yet," Poirot said. He moved toward the trees, his steps careful but quick. The shadow was gone, but he saw something on the ground, a piece of cloth, torn and muddy. He picked it up. It was silk, blue, with a faint smell of perfume, a woman's scarf maybe. He tucked it into his pocket, his mind racing. Back at the clearing, Poirot looked at the body again. The locket, the blood, the scream, it all meant something. He turned to Carver. "You will take me to the village. We call the police, and you will tell me everything." Carver nodded, but his eyes were scared. They walked back to the path, the fog swallowing the manor behind them. The 2-mile walk to Blackthorn was quiet, the only sound their footsteps and the distant hoot of an owl. Poirot's mind worked fast, piecing together what he knew. A letter, a body, a groundskeeper who lied, a photograph of strangers, and a shadow in the fog. The village of Blackthorn was small, just a few houses, a pub, and a post office with a phone. Poirot called the local police, his voice calm as he explained the body at Ravenwood. The officer on the line promised to send men right away. Poirot hung up and turned to Carver, who was sitting on a bench outside staring at the ground. "Tell me about the manor," Poirot said. "The truth this time." Carver sighed, rubbing his scarred face. "It belonged to Lord Ravenwood, like I said. Rich man, big family. But things went bad. His wife died young. His son ran off. Then the Lord died, and the place was left empty. Nobody wanted it. Too many stories." "What stories?" Poirot asked. Carver looked up, his eyes dark. "Murders. Years ago. Servants found dead. No reason why. Then the Lord's death. People said it wasn't a heart attack. Said it was poison." Poirot's mustache twitched. Poison was a coward's weapon, but a clever one. "And you? Why stay?" Carver shrugged. "Someone's got to keep the place from falling apart, and I owed the family." "Owed them what?" Poirot pressed. Carver didn't answer. The police arrived soon after, 2 officers in a muddy car. They asked questions, took notes, and followed Poirot and Carver back to the manor. The fog was lifting now, the manor's grim shape clearer in the gray light. The officers examined, the body, their faces grim. One of them, a short man with a red face, turned to Poirot. "You're that detective, aren't you? Hercule Poirot?" "I am," Poirot said, bowing slightly. "Strange business," the officer said. "We'll take her to the morgue. You sticking around?" "For now," Poirot said. "There is much to learn here." The officers nodded and got to work. Poirot watched them, his mind elsewhere. The locket, the scarf, the letters, they were all connected. He needed to know how. Back in the village, Poirot found a small inn to stay the night. The room was plain, with a hard bed and a single window, looking out on the foggy street. He sat at a small desk, spreading out his clues. The letter from the unknown, the note from the cafe, the letter to Lord Ravenwood, the locket, the scarf, and the piece of broken glass. He studied them, his gray cells working hard. The locket bothered him most. He opened it again, squinting at the tiny photograph. The man's face was blurry, but he had dark hair and a sharp jaw, like the man in the group photo. Was it the same person? And who was the woman? A lover? A sister? A victim? A knock at the door made him jump. He slipped the clues into his pocket and opened it. A boy, no older than 12, stood there, holding an envelope. "For you, sir," he said, handing it over before running off. Poirot closed the door and opened the envelope. Inside was another letter written in the same shaky hand. It read, "You found her. You're close, but danger is closer. Leave Ravenwood, or you'll be next. A friend." Poirot's heart beat fast. Someone was watching him. Someone knew he was here. He went to the window, looking out at the foggy street. Nothing moved, but he felt eyes on him. He closed the curtains and sat back down, the letter in his hand. He would not leave. Hercule Poirot did not run from danger. He faced it with his mind as his weapon. Tomorrow he would return to the manor. He would find the shadow in the fog, and he would uncover the truth, no matter how dark. The night was long, and the fog pressed against the window like a warning, but Poirot was ready. The game had begun. Chapter 3. The Gathering at Ravenwood Manor. The morning broke gray and heavy over Blackthorn Village, the fog thinner but still clinging to the air like a stubborn guest. Hercule Poirot sat at the small desk in his room at the inn, his coffee, cold beside him. The latest letter, the one delivered by the boy last night, lay open in front of him. "You found her. You're close, but danger is closer. Leave Ravenwood, or you'll be next. A friend." The words stared back at him, written in that same shaky hand. Poirot's mustache twitched. He did not like threats, but they made him curious. Someone wanted him gone. That meant he was on the right track. He gathered his clues. The first letter, the note from the cafe, the letter to Lord Ravenwood, the locket from the dead woman, the blue silk scarf, the piece of broken glass, and tucked them into his coat. Today he would return to Ravenwood Manor. The police had taken the body, but the house still held secrets, and Poirot was determined to find them. He left the inn and walked the muddy path to the manor, his polished shoes picking up more dirt. The air smelled of wet leaves and something sharp like smoke. The manor loomed ahead, its dark windows like eyes watching him. The rusted gate creaked as he pushed it open, and the overgrown garden seemed quieter today, as if it knew something he didn't. As he approached the front door, he heard voices, low, sharp, arguing. Poirot stopped, his ears sharp. The voices came from inside, muffled but clear enough to catch words like danger and leave. He knocked, loud and firm. The voices stopped. Footsteps approached, and the door swung open. A woman stood there, tall and thin, with gray hair pulled tight in a bun. Her face was sharp like a bird's, and her eyes were cold. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice crisp. "Hercule Poirot," he said, bowing slightly. "I am a detective. And you, madame?" "Eleanor Grayson," she said, her lips tight. "What do you want?" "I was called here," Poirot said, watching her closely. "By a letter. There has been a death. I wish to know why." Her eyes flickered just for a moment. "A death? That poor girl in the garden? The police were here yesterday." "Yes," Poirot said, "and I believe there is more to this story. May I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. "Very well, but don't expect a warm welcome." Poirot stepped into the hallway, the familiar smell of dust and mold hitting him. The broken glass was gone, swept away, but the air felt heavier today. Eleanor led him to a large room off the hallway, a dining room with a long table and high-backed chairs. 4 other people sat there, their faces tense. The air crackled with unease, like a storm about to break. "Let me introduce you," Eleanor said, her voice flat. "This is Dr. Henry Walsh, our local physician." She nodded to a short man with round glasses and a nervous smile. He looked about 50, his hands fidgeting with a pen. "Miss Clara Tate," Eleanor continued, pointing to a young woman with blonde curls and a pink dress. Clara looked up, her eyes wide and scared, like a deer caught in a trap. "Mr. Victor Langston," Eleanor said, gesturing to a man with slick black hair and a sharp suit. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his face unreadable. "And Mrs. Beatrice Holt," she finished, indicating an older woman with a heavy shawl and a stern frown. Beatrice's eyes met Poirot's, hard and suspicious. Poirot bowed to them, all. "A pleasure, I am sure. I am Hercule Poirot, detective. I am here because of a letter, and because of the woman found dead in the garden." The room went still. Clara gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth. Henry adjusted his glasses, his fingers shaking. Victor's eyes narrowed and Beatrice's frown deepened. Eleanor spoke first. "We know about the girl. The police told us. A tragedy, but nothing to do with us." "Nothing?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "A woman is dead on your property, madame. That is not nothing." "This isn't our property," Victor said, his voice smooth but sharp. "Ravenwood belongs to the Ravenwood estate. We're just guests." "Guests?" Poirot tilted his head. "Invited by whom?" The group exchanged glances, quick and uneasy. Eleanor answered. "We each received a letter. It asked us to come here to Ravenwood for a meeting. It was signed a friend." Poirot's heart beat faster. Another letter, the same signature. "May I see these letters?" he asked. They hesitated, then one by one, they pulled out envelopes. Poirot took them, his eyes scanning the pages. All were written in the same shaky hand, all vague, all urgent. "Come to Ravenwood. Important matters to discuss. Do not trust anyone. A friend." The words were almost identical to his own letter. He handed them back, his mind racing. "Who sent these?" Henry asked. "We don't know," Henry said, his voice soft. "I thought it was a patient, maybe, someone needing help." "Or a trick," Beatrice snapped. "This place is cursed, everyone knows it." "Cursed?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "You believe in curses, madame?" Beatrice glared. "I believe in facts. People die here. Servants years ago. Lord Ravenwood. And now this girl." "Tell me about Lord Ravenwood," Poirot said, sitting at the table. The group shifted, uncomfortable. "He was a good man," Eleanor said, her voice tight. "Rich, powerful, but he made enemies. When he died, heart attack, they said, people talked, said it wasn't natural." "Poison?" Poirot asked, remembering Carver's words. Clara gasped again. Henry coughed, adjusting his glasses. Victor smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. Beatrice nodded. "That's what they said." "And you?" Poirot turned to Victor. "What brings you here?" Victor shrugged. "Business. The letter said there was money to be made. I'm a businessman. I listen when money talks." Poirot studied him. Victor's suit was expensive, but his hands were rough, like he'd worked hard once. A man with secrets, perhaps. Poirot turned to Clara. "And you, mademoiselle?" Clara's voice was small. I used to visit Ravenwood as a child. My aunt worked here. The letter said it was about her. I had to come." "Your aunt?" Poirot leaned forward. "What was her name?" "Mary Tate," Clara said. "She was a maid. She disappeared." Poirot's mind snapped to attention. Another disappearance. Like the old man at the station had said. Like Carver's hints. He turned to Beatrice. "And you, madame?" Beatrice's eyes were hard. "I was Lord Ravenwood's housekeeper. I know this house. I know its secrets. The letter said someone was stirring up trouble. I came to stop it." Poirot nodded, then looked at Henry. "Dr. Walsh?" Henry cleared his throat. "I treated Lord Ravenwood before he died. The letter said there were questions about his death. I thought, maybe I could help." Poirot leaned back, his fingers steepled. 5 people, 5 letters, all connected to Ravenwood, and a dead woman in the garden. He needed more. "The woman in the garden," he said. "Did any of you know her?" They shook their heads, but Poirot watched their eyes. Clara looked away. Henry's hands shook. Victor's smirk faded. Beatrice's face was stone. Eleanor's lips tightened. Someone was lying. Before he could press, A loud knock came at the door. Carver's voice called out, "Police are back. They want to talk." Poirot stood, smoothing his jacket. "Stay here," he said. "We are not finished." He followed Carver to the front door where the same two officers waited. The short one, with the red face, spoke first. "We've got news, Mr. Poirot. The woman, she's been identified. Her name was Anna Reed. Worked as a secretary in London. No family here, but we found something odd." "Odd?" Poirot asked. The officer held up a small bag. Inside was a key, old and heavy, with a tag that read, "Ravenwood." "This was in her pocket," the officer said. "Any idea what it opens?" Poirot shook his head, but his mind was racing. A key, another clue. He took the bag, promising to return it. The officers left, saying they'd be back with more questions. Poirot turned to Carver. "This key, have you seen it before?" Carver stared at it, his face pale. "Maybe. Looks like one of the old keys. For the cellar, I think." "Show me," Poirot said. Carver led him through the manor, past the dining room where the others waited. They went down a narrow hall to a heavy door, locked tight. Carver tried the key. It fit, turning with a loud click. The door opened, revealing a dark staircase leading down. The air was cold, damp, and smelled of earth. Poirot lit a match, its small flame flickering. "Stay close," he said. They descended, the steps creaking under their weight. The cellar was large, with stone walls and shelves lined with dusty bottles. At the far end was a wooden chest, old and carved with strange symbols. Poirot knelt beside it, trying the key. It didn't fit. He frowned, running his fingers over the symbols. They looked like letters, but not English. Latin, maybe. He made a mental note to study them later. A noise came from above, a crash, like glass breaking. Carver cursed. Poirot stood, his hand on his pistol. They ran back upstairs, the match burning out. In the dining room, the group was on their feet, staring at a shattered window. Glass littered the floor and a brick lay in the middle, a note tied to it. Poirot picked it up, careful of the glass. The note was in the same shaky hand. "Leave now, or you all die." "A friend?" Clara sobbed. Henry clutched his glasses. Victor swore under his breath. Beatrice crossed her arms, glaring. Eleanor's face was pale but calm. Poirot held up the note. "Someone does not want us here. But I, Hercule Poirot, do not scare easily. We will find the truth." He turned to Carver. "Board up the window, keep watch." To the others, he said, "No one leaves this room until I return." He stepped outside, the fog wrapping around him. The garden was quiet, but he felt eyes watching. He found a footprint near the window, fresh in the mud. It was small, like a woman's. He thought of the blue silk scarf, the perfume. Another piece of the puzzle. Back inside, he gathered the group. "Someone is trying to scare us," he said, "but fear makes mistakes, and mistakes lead to answers. Tell me, who else is in this house?" They shook their heads, but Poirot saw the lies in their eyes. He would watch them closely. The gathering at Ravenwood was no accident. Someone had brought them here. Someone wanted them scared, and someone had killed Anna Reed. Poirot sat, his gray cells working. The letters, the key, the note, the footprint, they were all connected. He would stay at Ravenwood. He would find the shadow in the fog. And he would solve this case, no matter the danger. The day faded, the fog thickening again. Ravenwood Manor held its secrets tight, but Poirot was patient. The truth was close, he could feel it. Chapter 4. The Vanishing Guest. The fog pressed against Ravenwood Manor like a heavy hand, dimming the afternoon light to a sickly gray. Hercule Poirot stood in the dining room, the note from the brick still in his hand. "Leave now, or you all die. A friend." The words, written in that familiar shaky hand, sent a chill through the room. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Clara Tate, Victor Langston, and Beatrice Holt, stared at him, their faces a mix of fear and suspicion. The broken window let in a cold breeze, and the glass on the floor glinted like tiny warnings. Poirot's mind was sharp, cutting through the tension. A dead woman in the garden, Anna Reed, a key to the cellar. Letters signed, a friend, a footprint in the mud, and now, a brick through the window. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot was determined to win. He turned to John Carver, the groundskeeper, who was nailing boards over the broken window. "Monsieur Carver, you will stay close," Poirot said. "No one leaves this house until I say." Carver grunted, his scarred face grim. "Fine, but you're stirring up trouble, detective." "Trouble is already here," Poirot said, his voice calm but firm. He looked at the group. "One of you knows more than you say. A woman is dead. A note threatens us all. Speak now, or the truth will find you." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know anything," she cried, her voice shaking. "I just came because of my aunt." Dr. Walsh adjusted his glasses, his hands unsteady. "This is madness. We should leave, all of us." "Leave?" Victor smirked, leaning back in his chair. "And miss the fun? Someone's got a secret, and I want to know what it is." Beatrice's frown deepened. "You're all fools. This house is cursed. Always has been." Eleanor crossed her arms. "Enough talk of curses. Mr. Poirot, what do you plan to do?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "I plan to find the truth, but first we must secure this house. No more bricks, no more surprises." He sent Carver to check the doors and windows, then gathered the group's letters again. Each one was the same. Shaky handwriting, vague warnings, signed "a friend." He studied them, looking for differences. Clara's letter had a faint smudge of perfume, like the scarf he'd found. He made a note of it in his mind. "We stay together," Poirot said. "No one wanders alone. Danger is close, as the note says." The group nodded, though their eyes were uneasy. Poirot led them to the sitting room, where the furniture was still covered with dusty sheets. He pulled one off a chair and sat, his eyes scanning the room. The fireplace was cold, but a faint smell of smoke lingered, like someone had lit a fire recently. He filed that away too. "Tell me more about Anna Reed," Poirot said. "The police say she was a secretary from London. Did any of you know her?" They shook their heads, but Poirot watched their faces. Clara bit her lip. Henry's hands shook. Victor's smirk was gone. Beatrice stared at the floor. Eleanor's face was blank, too blank. Someone was hiding something. Before he could press, a loud bang came from upstairs. Everyone jumped. Clara gasped, clutching her dress. Poirot stood, his hand on the pistol in his pocket. "Stay here," he said, moving to the door. "I'm coming," Victor said, standing. His eyes were sharp, like he didn't trust Poirot to go alone. Poirot nodded. "Very well, but stay close." They climbed the stairs, the wood creaking under their feet. The hallway was dark, the air heavy with dust. The bang came again, softer now, from the end of the hall. Poirot moved toward it, his senses sharp. Victor followed, his steps quiet but tense. At the end of the hall was the heavy wooden door to the study, the one Poirot had picked open yesterday. It was ajar now, swaying slightly. Poirot pushed it open, his eyes scanning the room. The desk was the same, papers scattered, the photograph of the 8 people still there. But something was wrong. A drawer was open, papers spilling out. Someone had been here. Poirot knelt by the desk, examining the papers. Bills, receipts, a map of the estate. Nothing new. But then he saw it. A small notebook half hidden under a book. He picked it up, flipping it open. The pages were filled with numbers, dates, and initials. A code, maybe. He slipped it into his pocket, his heart beating faster. Victor watched him, his eyes narrow. "Find something?" Perhaps, Poirot said, keeping his voice light. We'll see. Another bang came, this time from downstairs. Poirot spun around, his hand on the pistol. Back to the others, he said. They hurried down the stairs, finding the sitting room empty. The group was gone. Poirot's stomach twisted. Where are they? He snapped. Victor shrugged, but his face was tense. Maybe they got scared. Poirot didn't believe it. He moved through the house, checking rooms. The dining room was empty. The kitchen was cold, untouched. He called out, "Madam Grayson? Dr. Walsh?" No answer. Carver appeared, his lantern swinging. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice rough. "The others are gone," Poirot said. "Find them. Now." Carver nodded and ran off, checking the back rooms. Poirot and Victor moved to the front hall where the door was still locked. No one had left that way. Poirot's mind raced. 5 people didn't just vanish, not unless someone wanted them to. He heard a scream, faint but sharp, from the direction of the garden. He ran outside, Victor behind him. The fog was thick again, hiding the trees. The scream came again, weaker now. Poirot pushed through the bushes, his shoes sinking into the mud. There, in the same clearing where Anna Reed's body had been, was Clara, crumpled on the ground. Poirot knelt beside her, checking her pulse. She was alive, breathing fast, her eyes wide with fear. "Mademoiselle Tate, what happened?" he asked, his voice gentle but urgent. Clara's lips trembled. I saw someone. In the fog. They grabbed me. I screamed and they ran." "Who?" Poirot pressed. "What did they look like?" "I don't know," she whispered. "It was too foggy. But they had a scarf, blue like mine." Poirot's hand went to his pocket where the blue silk scarf lay. He helped Clara up, her hands shaking. Victor stood nearby, his face unreadable. "Where are the others?" Poirot asked her. "I don't know," Clara said. "We were in the sitting room. Then we heard the bang. Eleanor said we should check the house. We split up. I went to the garden and that's when it happened." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Splitting up was foolish, or planned. He led Clara back to the house, Victor following. Inside, Carver was waiting, his face grim. "Found them," he said. "In the library." Poirot hurried to the library, a large room with tall shelves and a musty smell. Eleanor, Henry, and Beatrice stood there looking shaken. A book lay on the floor, its pages torn. "What happened?" Poirot demanded. "We heard the bang," Eleanor said. "We thought it was upstairs. We came here to check." "And left Mademoiselle Tate alone?" Poirot's voice was sharp. "We didn't mean to," Henry said, his glasses slipping. "It was chaos." Beatrice snorted. "Chaos? Someone's trying to kill us and you're all running around like fools." Poirot held up a hand. "Enough. We stay together now. No more wandering." He looked at Clara. "You said a blue scarf. Like this?" He pulled the scarf from his pocket. Clara nodded, her eyes wide. "Yes, where did you find it?" "In the garden," Poirot said, "near the broken window." The group went silent. Eleanor's face paled. Henry's hands shook harder. Victor's eyes darted to the scarf, then away. Beatrice's frown deepened. Poirot watched them all, his gray cells working. The scarf was a clue, but whose? Clara's or someone else's? He turned to Carver. "The cellar key. Take me back." Carver led the group to the cellar door, the key from Anna Reed's pocket in Poirot's hand. They descended, the air cold and damp. The wooden chest was still there, its strange symbols glinting in the lantern's light. Poirot tried the key, again. It didn't fit. He frowned, running his fingers over the symbols. They were Latin, he was sure now. Cave felis, beware the cat. Odd. A noise came from behind the shelves, a soft scrape like a shoe on stone. Poirot spun around, his pistol out. "Show yourself," he called. Nothing. The group froze, their breaths loud in the silence. Poirot moved toward the sound, the lantern, casting shadows. Behind a shelf was a small door hidden in the wall. He tried the key. It turned with a click. The door opened, revealing a narrow tunnel, dark and damp. "Where does this go?" Poirot asked Carver. I don't know," Carver said, his voice shaking. "Never seen it." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Another lie. He stepped into the tunnel, the group behind him. The air was thick, the walls slimy. The tunnel sloped down, then up, ending at a trapdoor. Poirot pushed it open, emerging into the garden near the clearing where Anna Reed had died. He looked around, the fog swirling. The trapdoor was hidden under vines, invisible unless you knew where to look. A perfect way to move unseen. To kill, unseen. Back in the house, Poirot gathered the group in the dining room. "Someone used that tunnel," he said. "Someone who knows this house. One of you, perhaps." They protested, their voices overlapping. Poirot held up a hand. "Enough, I will find the truth. But for now, we stay here, together." The day dragged on, the fog never lifting. Poirot watched the group, their faces tense. Clara clutched her dress. Henry's glasses fogged up. Victor paced. Beatrice glared. Eleanor sat still, her eyes cold. And Carver, outside, hammered more boards over the windows. Night fell, the house creaking in the wind. Poirot sat by the fire, the notebook from the study in his hand. The numbers and initials were a code, he was sure. He would crack it, but then a scream tore through the house, sharp and terrified. Poirot ran toward it, the group behind him. It came from upstairs. They climbed the stairs, the lantern swinging. At the end of the hall, a door was open. Inside was Clara's room, and Clara was gone. Her bed was empty, the window open, the curtains flapping. On the pillow was a note in that shaky hand. One guest gone, more to follow. A friend. Poirot's heart pounded. The vanishing guest. The game was getting darker, and he was running out of time. Chapter 5. Clues in the Candlelight. The air in Ravenwood Manor was thick with fear, the kind that sticks to your skin like damp fog. Hercule Poirot stood in Clara Tate's empty bedroom, the note on her pillow glaring up at him. One guest gone. More to follow. A friend. The words scrawled in that shaky hand felt like a taunt. Clara was gone, vanished through an open window into the foggy night. The curtains flapped in the cold breeze, and the room smelled of dust and something sweet, like perfume. Poirot's heart beat steady, but his mind raced. A dead woman, Anna Reed, a threatening note, a hidden tunnel, and now, a missing girl. The puzzle was growing, and he was determined to solve it. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, the groundskeeper, crowded behind him, their faces pale in the lantern's glow. Eleanor's lips were tight, her sharp eyes darting to the window. Henry's hands shook, his glasses slipping down his nose. Victor's smirk was gone, replaced by a tense frown. Beatrice clutched her shawl, muttering about curses. Carver held the lantern high, his scarred face grim. "Where is she?" Eleanor snapped, her voice cutting through the silence. "This is madness." "Madness, perhaps," Poirot said, his voice calm but firm. "But not without purpose. Someone took Mademoiselle Tate. Or she left. We will find out which." "She didn't leave," Beatrice said, her voice low. "This house takes people. Always has." Poirot's mustache twitched. He did not believe in curses, but he believed in clues. He knelt by the bed, his eyes scanning the room. The pillow was crumpled, the blankets tossed aside. A small table held a candle, half burned, its wax dripped onto a saucer. The sweet smell was stronger here. He leaned closer, sniffing. Perfume. Faint but familiar. Like the blue silk scarf he'd found in the garden. He stood, holding up the note. "This was left for us to find, a warning, yes, but also a mistake. The writer is close, they watch us, and they are afraid." "Afraid?" Victor scoffed, but his voice was tight. "They're the ones scaring us." "Exactly," Poirot said, his eyes sharp. "Fear makes people act. and actions leave traces. He moved to the window, examining the sill. No marks, no scratches. If someone climbed out, they were careful. He looked outside, the fog a gray wall hiding the garden. No footprints, no signs, but he felt eyes watching somewhere in the mist. "Carver," Poirot said, turning to the groundskeeper. "Search the garden. Look for tracks, anything unusual. Take Dr. Walsh with you." Henry blinked, startled. "Me? I'm no tracker." "You are a doctor," Poirot said. "If Mademoiselle Tate is hurt, you may help. Go." Carver nodded, leading Henry out. Poirot turned to the others. "We searched the house, every room, every corner. Madame Grayson, you and Madame Holt check the ground floor. Monsieur Langston with me." Eleanor and Beatrice left without a word, their footsteps echoing. "Victor," followed Poirot, his eyes wary. "You don't trust me, do you?" Victor said as they climbed the stairs. "I trust no one," Poirot said, his voice light, but his eyes hard. "Not yet." They started with the hallway, checking each door. Most were locked, as before, but Poirot used the hairpin from yesterday to pick them open. One room held old furniture covered in dust. Another was a nursery, with a cradle and faded toys. Each room felt empty, but Poirot's senses were sharp. He noticed small things: a scuff on the floor, a curtain slightly askew, a faint smell of smoke in one room. In the third room, a bedroom with a sagging bed, Poirot found something. Under the bed was a small box, wooden and plain, hidden in the shadows. He pulled it out, his fingers careful. The lid was locked, but the cellar key, the one from Anna Reed's pocket, fit perfectly. He turned it, the lock clicking open. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with a red ribbon. They were old, the paper yellowed, but the handwriting was clear, not shaky, not like the notes from a friend. These were love letters, addressed to "My dearest Mary." Poirot's heart skipped. Mary Tate, Clara's aunt, the maid who disappeared. He scanned one letter, his eyes quick. It spoke of secret meetings, promises, and danger. It was signed R. "Lord Ravenwood," Poirot murmured. He tucked the letters into his coat, his mind racing. Mary Tate had a lover. Was it the Lord? And did it connect to Clara's disappearance? Victor watched, his face unreadable. "What's that?" "Clues," Poirot said, closing the box. "And they stay with me." They moved to the next room, but Poirot's thoughts were on the letters. Mary Tate's disappearance, Anna Reed's death. Clara's vanishing, all tied to Ravenwood. He needed to know more about the Lord, the manor, and the secrets buried here. Downstairs, Eleanor and Beatrice returned, their faces grim. "Nothing," Eleanor said. "The kitchen, the parlor, all empty," Beatrice nodded. "But I found this." She held up a candle, half burned, with wax dripped in a strange pattern. It was in the parlor, on the floor. Poirot took it, his eyes narrowing. The wax formed a rough shape, like a letter. A C, perhaps. Or a crescent moon. He sniffed, it the same sweet perfume. "Where exactly was it?" he asked. "By the fireplace," Beatrice said. "Looked like someone dropped it." Poirot nodded, adding the candle to his clues. He led the group back to the dining room where Carver and Henry were waiting. "Nothing in the garden," Carver said. "Fog's too thick. No tracks." Henry nodded, his face pale. "I checked the clearing. No blood, no signs of a struggle." Poirot's frown deepened. Clara was gone, but no trace, like a ghost. He lit a candle from the table, its flame small but steady. The light danced on the walls, casting shadows that seemed to move. "We stay here tonight," he said. "Together, no one leaves." The group muttered but agreed. They pulled chairs close to the table, the candlelight flickering. Poirot sat, the notebook from the study in his hand. The numbers and initials stared back at him. He flipped through it, his gray cells working. The dates were recent, some only days old. The initials, AR, MT, LR, could mean Anna Reed, Mary Tate, Lord Ravenwood. But what did the numbers mean? A code, a map, a list? He looked at the group, their faces tense in the candlelight. "One of you knows where Clara is," he said. "Speak now." They shook their heads, their eyes wide. But Poirot saw the lies. Eleanor's hands were too still. Henry's glasses fogged up. Victor's jaw was tight. Beatrice's shawl was clutched too hard. Carver stared at the floor. A creak came from the hallway, soft but clear. Poirot stood, his pistol ready. "Stay here," he said, moving to the door. The hallway was dark, the candle's light barely reaching. He saw nothing, but he heard it. Again, a creak, then a whisper, like a voice in the fog. He followed the sound, his steps quiet. The whisper came from the library. He pushed the door open, the candle casting long shadows. Books lined the walls, their spines cracked and dusty. On a table was another candle, lit and dripping wax. Beside it was a book, open to a page with a drawing, a cat, its eyes sharp and cruel. Poirot's heart beat faster. Cave Felis, beware the cat, the symbols on the cellar chest. He picked up the book, flipping through it. It was a history of Ravenwood, written long ago. A passage caught his eye. The Ravenwood family kept a secret, guarded by the sign of the cat. Only the chosen know its meaning. He closed the book, tucking it under his arm. The whisper came again from behind the shelves. He moved toward it, his candle steady. A panel in the wall was loose, revealing another hidden door. He pushed it open, finding a narrow staircase leading up. The air was cold, the smell of smoke stronger now. He climbed, the steps creaking. At the top was a small room, an attic, filled with boxes and old furniture. A window was open, the fog curling in. On the floor was a piece of blue silk, torn and muddy. Another scarf. Poirot picked it up, his mind racing. Clara's scarf? Or the same one from the garden? A noise behind him made him spin, his pistol raised. It was Victor, his face pale in the candlelight. "Found something?" Victor asked, his voice low. "Too many things," Poirot said, holding up the scarf. "And you, monsieur? Why are you here?" "Thought you might need help," Victor said, but his eyes were on the scarf. Poirot didn't trust him. He led Victor back downstairs, the group still in the dining room. He held up the scarf. "This was in the attic. Who does it belong to?" "Clara's." Scarf was blue, but so was the one from the garden. Eleanor shook her head. Beatrice frowned. Henry's hands shook. Carver stared at the floor. Victor said nothing. Poirot lit another candle, the light growing stronger. "We will find Clara," he said, "and we will find the truth. But someone here is not what they seem." The night stretched on, the candles burning low. Poirot watched. The group, their faces flickering in the light. The letters, the key, the scarf, the book, the code, they were all clues, glowing like the candlelight. And somewhere in Ravenwood, Clara was waiting, or hiding, or dead. Chapter 6. In the locked room. Enigma. The candles in Ravenwood Manor's dining room flickered, casting shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls. Hercule Poirot sat at the long table, his eyes sharp despite the late hour. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, sat in uneasy silence, their faces pale in the dim light. Clara Tate was gone, vanished into the fog, leaving only a note. One guest gone. More to follow. A friend. The words echoed in Poirot's mind, each one a piece of the puzzle he was determined to solve. Anna Reed's death, the threatening letters, the hidden tunnel, the blue scarves, the coded notebook, and now Clara's disappearance. All connected, all leading somewhere dark. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of wax and fear. Poirot held the torn blue scarf he'd found in the attic, its faint perfume matching the one from the garden. He watched the group, their eyes avoiding his. Someone knew more than they said. Someone was lying. And someone, he was sure, was behind Clara's vanishing. A sudden thud broke the silence, loud and heavy from somewhere upstairs. The group jumped, chairs scraping the floor. Eleanor's hands tightened on her chair. Henry's glasses slipped, his face pale. Victor stood, his jaw tight. Beatrice muttered under her breath, clutching her shawl. Carver gripped his lantern, his scarred face grim. "What was that?" Eleanor asked, her voice sharp. Poirot stood, his small frame steady. "We find out. Together. No one stays behind." They followed him to the staircase, the candlelight barely reaching the dark hallway above. The thud came again, softer now, from the direction of the locked rooms Poirot had explored before. His hand rested on the pistol in his pocket, not because he wanted to use it, but because he trusted no one. The group's footsteps echoed, their breaths loud in the quiet. At the end of the hall was a door, heavy and old, one Poirot had picked open yesterday. It was shut now, and when he tried the handle, it was locked. He frowned, his mustache twitching. "This door was open before," he said. "Who locked it?" No one answered. Victor stepped forward, trying the handle himself. "Solid," he said. "Needs a key." Poirot pulled out his hairpin, his fingers quick and precise. The lock clicked, and the door creaked open, revealing a small bedroom. The air inside was cold, the window closed tight. On the floor lay a candlestick, heavy and brass, its base dented. It hadn't been there before. Poirot knelt, examining it. No blood, no marks, but it was heavy enough to make a thud if dropped. "Look," Henry said, pointing to the bed. The blankets were rumpled as if someone had sat there. A faint smell of perfume lingered, the same sweet scent as the scarves. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Someone was here. Recently. He checked the window. Locked from the inside, the latch, rusted but firm. He turned to the group. "This room was locked. The window is locked, yet someone was here." "How?" "A secret passage?" Victor suggested, his voice low. Poirot nodded. "Perhaps, like the tunnel in the cellar." He ran his hands along the walls, tapping for hollow spots. Nothing. The room was small, bare except for the bed, a chair, and a dusty wardrobe. He opened the wardrobe, finding only moth-eaten clothes. But under the bed, he saw something. Small piece of paper, folded tight. He picked it up, unfolding it carefully. It was a note in the same shaky hand. "The cat watches. Leave before it strikes. Adonc felice." Poirot's heart beat faster. Cave felice. Beware the cat. The same Latin phrase from the cellar chest, now tied to this note. He slipped it into his pocket next to the coded notebook, the letters and the scarves. "What's that?" Beatrice asked, her voice sharp. "A clue," Poirot said, his tone calm, but his mind racing. "And a warning." Eleanor crossed her arms. "This is ridiculous. Clara's gone, and now we're chasing notes. We should leave." "Leave?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "And let the truth hide?" "No, madam. I stay until I know why Anna Reed died and where Clara Tate is." Henry adjusted his glasses, his hands shaking. "But what if Beatrice is right? What if this place is cursed?" "There is no curse," Poirot said firmly. "Only people. People lie, people kill, and people make mistakes." Victor smirked, but it was weak. "So what now, detective? We're locked in a haunted house with a missing girl and a killer." Poirot ignored the jab. "We search again. Every room, every corner, and we stay together." They moved through the house, checking each room. The library was quiet, the book about Ravenwood still on the table, open to the page about the cat. The kitchen was cold, untouched. The parlor had a faint smell of smoke, like the fireplace had been used. Poirot noted it, adding it to his mental list. In the study, he checked the desk again. The photograph of the 8 people, 5 men, 3 women, stared back at him. He studied their faces, trying to match them to anyone he'd met. The tall man with dark hair and a sharp jaw looked familiar, but he couldn't place him. Was it the man from the cafe? Or someone in this house? Carver lingered by the door, his lantern casting shadows. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered. "Then why stay?" Poirot asked, his eyes sharp. "You owe the Ravenwood family, you said. Why?" Carver looked away. "Old debts. Doesn't matter now." "It matters," Poirot said. "Everything matters." They returned to the dining room, the candles burning low. Poirot spread his clues on the table. The letters, the notebook, the scarves, the candlestick, the new note. The group watched, their faces tense. "These are pieces of a puzzle," Poirot said. "Anna Reed's death. Clara's disappearance. The cat. They are connected, but how?" Before anyone could answer, a scream tore through the house, sharp and desperate. It came from downstairs near the cellar. Poirot grabbed a candle and ran, the group behind him. The cellar door was open, the air cold and damp. They descended, the lantern's light bouncing off the stone walls. At the bottom, near the wooden chest with the Latin symbols, was Dr. Henry Walsh. He was on the floor, clutching his arm, blood seeping through his sleeve. His glasses were crooked, his face pale. "Someone attacked me," he gasped. Poirot knelt beside him, checking the wound, a shallow cut, not deep but enough to scare. "Who?" he asked. "I didn't see," Henry said, his voice weak. "It was dark. They came from behind." Poirot looked around. The chest was untouched, the shelves undisturbed. But the small door to the tunnel was ajar, just a crack. He stood, his pistol ready. "Carver, stay with him. The rest with me." Eleanor, Beatrice, and Victor followed him into the tunnel, the air thick and slimy. The candle flickered, barely lighting the way. The tunnel sloped up, ending at the trap door in the garden. Poirot pushed it open, the fog swirling around them. No one was there, but he saw something in the grass. A candle, half burned, its wax forming the same strange shape as before. A C, or a crescent moon. He picked it up, his mind racing. The perfume was there, faint but clear. "Someone uses these candles," he said. "Someone who knows the house." Back in the cellar, Henry was sitting up, his arm bandaged with a strip of cloth from Carver's shirt. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice shook. "You are lucky," Poirot said, "but we are not safe. Someone is here, moving through the house, through the tunnel. They attack. They hide. But they cannot hide forever." He led the group back to the dining room, the candles burning lower. "We stay here," he said. "All night. No one moves." The group nodded, their eyes wide. Poirot sat, the notebook open in front of him. He studied the codes again, numbers, initials, dates, ARMTLR, Anna Reed, Mary Tate, Lord Ravenwood. The dates matched events: Mary's disappearance, Lord Ravenwood's death, Anna's murder. But the numbers, a location, a time. He looked at the candlestick, the scarf, the note about the cat. Cave Felis. The book had said the cat was a secret, known only to the chosen. Was it a code, a symbol, a person? A soft knock came at the front door. Everyone froze. Poirot stood, his pistol in hand. "Stay here," he said, moving to the hall. He opened the door, the fog thick outside. A boy stood there, the same one, from the inn, holding another envelope. "For you, sir," the boy said, then ran off into the mist. Poirot opened the envelope, his heart pounding. Another note, shaky handwriting. "The locked room hides the truth. Find it before the cat strikes again. A friend." He returned to the group, holding up the note. "The locked room," he said. "The one upstairs. We must go back." They climbed the stairs again, the candlelight weak. The bedroom door was still locked, but Poirot's hairpin worked fast. Inside, the room looked the same. Candlestick on the floor, rumpled bed, locked window. But now Poirot noticed something new. A faint scratch on the wall near the wardrobe. He pushed it and the wardrobe slid aside, revealing another hidden door. He opened it, finding a small closet. Inside was a box, like the one under the bed, but larger. The cellar key fit its lock. He opened it, revealing more letters, a small knife, and a photograph. The photograph showed Clara Tate standing in the garden, holding a blue scarf. Her face was scared, her eyes wide. Poirot's breath caught. "Clara was here," he said, "and someone wanted us to know." The group gasped. Eleanor's face paled. Beatrice muttered about curses. Victor's eyes narrowed. Henry clutched his arm. Carver stared at the floor. Poirot held up the knife. "This matches your wound, Dr. Walsh. Someone in this house is the cat, and I will find them." The night deepened, the candles burning out. Ravenwood Manor was a locked room itself, hiding its secrets. But Poirot was close. The clues were glowing like the candlelight leading him to the truth. Chapter 7. Shadows of Suspicion. The candles in Ravenwood Manor's dining room burned low, their flames flickering like nervous heartbeats. Hercule Poirot stood at the head of the long table, the small knife from the hidden closet in his hand. Its blade glinted in the candlelight, sharp and clean except for a faint smear of dried blood. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, stared at it, their faces tight with fear and distrust. Clara Tate was still missing, her photograph from the locked room a haunting reminder. The note from the boy, "The locked room hides the truth. Find it before the cat strikes again." A friend lay on the table, its shaky handwriting a constant taunt. Anna Reed's death, the coded notebook, the blue scarves, the hidden tunnel, the Latin phrase, cave felis, all pieces of a puzzle Poirot was determined to solve. The air was heavy, the fog outside pressing against the windows like a silent threat. Shadows moved on the walls, stretching and twisting in the dim light. Poirot's eyes scanned the group, each face a mask hiding secrets. Eleanor sat stiffly, her sharp features unreadable. Henry clutched his bandaged arm, his glasses fogged with sweat. Victor leaned back, his smirk gone, his eyes darting to the knife. Beatrice gripped her shawl, muttering about curses under her breath. Carver stood by the door, his lantern casting long shadows, his scarred face grim. "This knife," Poirot said, his voice calm but firm, "matches Dr. Walsh's wound. It was found in a hidden closet with a photograph of Mademoiselle Tate. Someone in this house is playing a dangerous game, and I, Hercule Poirot, will find them." Henry's voice shook. "I told you I didn't see who attacked me. It was dark." "Dark, yes," Poirot said, his mustache twitching, "but not invisible. Someone used this knife. Someone left that photograph. And someone knows where Clara is." Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "You're accusing us?" "We're victims here, Mr. Poirot. Clara's gone, Henry's hurt, and those notes keep coming." "Victims?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Or players in a plot. Each of you received a letter, signed a friend. Each of you came to Ravenwood. And now one is dead, one is missing, and one is wounded. This is no coincidence." Victor leaned forward, his voice low. "You're barking up the wrong tree, Detective. Maybe it's you we shouldn't trust. You show up and everything goes wrong." Poirot's gaze was steady. "I was called here, monsieur, just like you. But I do not hide. I seek the truth. Can you say the same?" Victor's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Beatrice snorted. "This house is cursed. I told you. People die here. Always have." "Enough of curses," Poirot said sharply. "There is no ghost, no magic, only people. People with motives. People with secrets." He spread his clues on the table. The letters, the coded notebook, the blue scarves, the candlestick, the note. About the cat, the photograph of Clara, the knife. Each one glowed in the candlelight, a piece of the truth. He picked up the notebook, flipping through its pages of numbers and initials. A.R., M.T., L.R., Anna Reed, Mary Tate, Lord Ravenwood. The dates matched their stories. Mary's disappearance years ago, Lord Ravenwood's death, Anna's murder days ago. The numbers, though, were still a mystery. A code, perhaps, for a place or a time. He looked at the group. "Who is the cat?" he asked. "The notes speak of it. Cave Felis. Beware the cat. The book in the library says it is a Ravenwood secret. One of you knows what it means." They shook their heads, but Poirot saw the lies. Eleanor's hands were too still. Henry's eyes darted away. Victor's fingers tapped the table. Beatrice's muttering stopped. Carver stared at the floor, his lantern shaking slightly. A soft creak came from the hallway, barely audible. Poirot's hand went to his pistol. "Stay here," he said, moving to the door. The hallway was dark, the candlelight weak. He lit another candle, its flame small but steady. The creak came again from the direction of the library. He moved toward it, his steps quiet, the group behind him despite his order. The library door was ajar, a faint glow inside. Poirot pushed it, open, the candle casting shadows across the shelves. The book about Ravenwood was still on the table, open to the page about the cat. But now, something new lay beside it. A small brass key, old and tarnished with a tag that read attic. Poirot picked it up, his heart beating faster. "Another key," he said, "and another clue." Victor frowned. "Attic? We were there. You found the scarf." "Yes," Poirot said, "but we did not look closely enough." He turned to Carver. "You know this house. Where is the attic lock?" Carver hesitated, his eyes on the key. "There's a door at the end of the upstairs hall, never opened it, always locked." "Take us," Poirot said. They climbed the stairs, the air colder with each step. The hallway was dark, the locked rooms silent. At the end was a narrow door, barely noticeable, its wood warped with age. Poirot tried the brass key. It fit, turning with a heavy click. The door opened, revealing a steep staircase leading up. The attic was large, filled with boxes, old furniture, and cobwebs. The window was open, the fog curling in like smoke. Poirot held the candle high, its light catching something on the floor. A trail of wax, fresh and still soft, leading to a corner. He followed it, the group behind him, their breaths loud in the quiet. In the corner was a trunk, old and heavy, its lock matching the brass key. Poirot opened it, the hinges creaking. Inside was a bundle of clothes, a woman's coat, and another photograph. This one showed Anna Reed, standing in the garden, holding a candle. Her face was serious, her eyes fixed on something out of frame. Poirot's mind raced. Anna and Clara, both tied to the garden, both tied to candles. He checked the coat's pockets, finding a small vial of perfume, sweet like the scarves. He held it up. "Whose is this?" he asked. No one answered, but Clara's perfume was the same. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Someone is leaving these clues. Someone wants us to find them. But why?" A noise came from below, a crash like glass breaking. Poirot spun, his pistol ready. "Stay together," he said, leading the group downstairs. The sound came from the parlor where the fireplace was now lit, its flames casting a warm glow. A glass vase lay shattered on the floor, its pieces scattered. Beatrice gasped. "The curse! It's real!" "No curse," Poirot said, his voice sharp. "Someone was here." He checked the room, finding a candle on the mantel, its wax forming the same strange shape. A C or a crescent moon. The perfume was there too, faint but clear. He turned to the group. "Someone moves through this house unseen. They light fires, they break glass, they leave notes, and they know the cat." Eleanor's voice was cold. "You're wasting time. Mr. Poirot, Clara's gone, we're next." "Not if I find the truth first," Poirot said. He led them back to the dining room, the candles nearly gone. He sat, opening the coded notebook again. The initials, the dates, the numbers. They were a map, he was sure. A map to the cat. He looked at Carver. "You said you owed the Ravenwood family. Tell me why." Carver's face tightened. "I was a boy here, Lord Ravenwood helped my family when we had nothing. I stayed to protect the house, that's all. Protect it from what? Poirot pressed. Carver looked away. From people like you, asking too many questions. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Another lie. He turned to Henry. You treated Lord Ravenwood. Was it poison? Henry's hands shook. I don't know. They said heart attack, but there were rumors. Rumors are not enough, Poirot said. What did you see? Henry swallowed. He was pale, sweating, clutching his chest, but his eyes, they were scared, like he knew something. Poirot nodded, filing it away. He turned to Victor. You came for money. What kind? Victor shrugged. The letter said there was a deal. Something about the estate. I didn't ask questions. You should have, Poirot said. He looked at Beatrice. You were the housekeeper. You knew Mary Tate. What happened to her? Beatrice's eyes darkened. She was a good girl, too good for this place. She loved someone, but it was trouble. Then she was gone. Loved someone? Poirot leaned forward. Who? Beatrice shook her head. I don't know. She never said. Poirot turned to Eleanor. And you, madame? Why are you here? Eleanor's lips tightened. I was Lord Ravenwood's cousin. The letter said the family's honor was at stake. I came to protect it. Honor? Poirot's mustache twitched. Or secrets? No one answered. The candles flickered, one going out. The shadows grew, creeping closer. Poirot felt the weight of the house, its secrets pressing down. He opened the notebook again, his eyes on the numbers. They were coordinates, he realized. Latitude and longitude, a place in the garden, perhaps. We go to the garden, he said, standing. Now. The group protested, but Poirot's voice was firm. The answers are there. Bring the lantern. They stepped outside, the fog thick and cold. Carver led the way, his lantern cutting through the mist. Poirot followed the coordinates, counting steps from the clearing where Anna's body was found. They led to a tree, old and twisted, its roots bulging from the ground. Poirot knelt, digging, in the dirt with his hands. The group watched, their faces tense. His fingers hit something hard. A metal box, small and rusted. He pulled it out, the cellar key fitting its lock. Inside was a single paper, a map of Ravenwood Manor, with a room marked in red. The word cat was written beside it. Poirot's heart pounded. This room, he said, pointing to the map. Where is it? Carver studied it, his face pale. It's the old servants' quarters behind the kitchen. They hurried back inside, the fog chasing them. The servants' quarters were down a narrow hall, the door hidden behind a curtain. Poirot pushed it open, the air stale and cold. The room was small, with a bed, a table, and a single candle, unlit but dripping wax in the familiar shape. On the table was another note. You're too late. The cat has struck. A friend. Poirot's stomach twisted. He turned to the group. Clara is in danger. We find that room. Now. The shadows of suspicion grew darker, the candlelight fading. Ravenwood Manor was closing in, but Poirot would not stop. The cat was near, and he would catch it. Psychic Chapter 8. The alibi that crumbled. The fog outside Ravenwood Manor was a thick gray curtain muffling the world beyond. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of wax and dust, the candles in the dining room barely holding back the dark. Hercule. Poirot stood with the map from the metal box, its red mark pointing to the servants' quarters behind the kitchen, labeled cat. The latest note found on the table in that small, stale room burned in his mind. You're too late. The cat has struck. A friend. Clara Tate was still missing. Anna Reed was dead. And the group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, stood around him, their faces tight with fear and suspicion. The shadows on the walls seemed to watch, as if the house itself knew more than it told. Poirot's gray cells worked fast, piecing together the clues, the threatening letters, the coded notebook, the blue scarves, the candlestick, the knife, the photographs, the hidden tunnel, the Latin phrase cave felis. The map was new, pointing to a room tied to the mysterious cat. And now, a note saying they were too late. Too late for what? For Clara? Or for something worse? He held up the map, his voice calm but sharp. This room marked cat holds answers. We go there now. But first, I must know where each of you was when Mademoiselle Tate vanished. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. You think one of us took her? I think, Poirot said, his mustache twitching, that someone in this house knows more than they say. Alibis, please. From the moment we heard the scream, the group shifted uneasy. Eleanor spoke first, her voice crisp. I was in the sitting room with everyone else. When the bang came, we split up to search. I went to the parlor with Beatrice. Beatrice nodded, her shawl tight around her shoulders. That's right. We checked the parlor, found that candle on the floor, then we heard Clara scream. Poirot's eyes flicked to the candle on the table, its wax forming a C or crescent moon. And you saw no one else? No, Eleanor said, but her hands were too still, like she was hiding something. Poirot turned to Henry. Dr. Walsh? Henry adjusted his glasses, his bandaged arm trembling. I was with them in the sitting room. After the bang, I went to the library. Thought the noise came from there. Then I got attacked in the cellar. Alone? Poirot asked, his voice sharp. Henry nodded, swallowing hard. Yes. I didn't see anyone. Poirot's gaze moved to Victor. And you, monsieur? Victor leaned back, his arms crossed. I was with you, detective, upstairs in the study. You found that scarf in the attic. True, Poirot said. But before that, when we were in the sitting room? Victor shrugged. I was there. Didn't go anywhere until the bang. Poirot turned to Carver, who stood by the door, his lantern casting long shadows. And you, Monsieur Carver? Carver's scarred face was grim. I was outside checking the windows after the brick came through. Heard the scream, came running. Poirot nodded, his mind working. Their alibis were neat, too neat. Someone was lying, and lies, like old walls, always crumbled. He picked up the map. To the servants' quarters. Now. They moved through the house, the air cold and heavy. The narrow hall behind the kitchen led to the small room they'd found earlier, with the unlit candle and the note. Poirot studied the map again. The red mark was clear, but the room seemed too simple. A bed, a table, nothing else. He tapped the walls, listening for hollow spots. Nothing. He checked the floor, lifting a dusty rug. Underneath was a trap door, its edges flush with the wood. He knelt, trying the cellar key. It didn't fit. He tried the brass key from the attic. It turned with a click. The trapdoor opened, revealing a ladder leading down to a dark space. The air smelled of earth and something sharp, like metal. Another tunnel, Victor said, his voice low. Poirot lit a candle, its flame small but steady. Stay close, he said, descending. The group followed, their footsteps loud on the ladder. The tunnel was narrow, its walls damp and rough. It sloped down, then turned, ending at another trapdoor. Poirot pushed it open, emerging into a small room, hidden under the house. The room was unlike the rest of Ravenwood. Its walls were stone, clean and smooth, with shelves holding glass jars filled with papers, coins, and small objects. In the center was a table, and on it a single candle, burning low, its wax forming the familiar C shape. Beside it was a photograph, this one of Mary Tate, Clara's aunt, standing in the garden, holding a blue scarf. Her face was pale, her eyes scared. Poirot's heart beat faster. Mary Tate, he said. She was here, and someone wants us to know. Eleanor gasped. That's her? Clara's aunt? Poirot nodded, picking up the photograph. She disappeared, yes? But she left clues, like Clara. Henry's voice shook. What is this place? A hiding spot, Poirot said. For secrets, for the cat. He checked the jars, finding more papers, letters, receipts, a list of names. One caught his eye. Anna Reed, secretary, hired 1924. Another, Mary Tate, maid, 1918. And a third, Lord Ravenwood, deceased, 1920. He turned to the group. These names, they are tied to this house, to the cat. Who else is on this list? Beatrice stepped forward, her eyes sharp. Let me see. She scanned the paper, her face paling. My name's here. Beatrice Holt, housekeeper, 1915-1920. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And you, Madame Grayson? Eleanor hesitated, then nodded. I'm there too. Eleanor Grayson, cousin, 1918. Henry cleared his throat. Me too. Henry Walsh, physician, 1919. Victor smirked, but it was weak. Guess I'm the odd one out, no list for me. Poirot turned to Carver. And you? Carver looked away. I'm there. John Carver, groundskeeper, 1915. Poirot's mustache twitched. All of you tied to Ravenwood, all of you called here by letters, and all of you lying about something. They protested, their voices overlapping. Poirot held up a hand. Enough. Your alibis are weak. Madame Grayson, you say you were with Madame Holt, but the parlor is close to the garden. You could have slipped out. Dr. Walsh, you were alone in the library, then attacked in the cellar. Convenient, no? Monsieur Langston, you were with me, but only after the scream. And Monsieur Carver, you were outside unseen when Clara vanished. You're accusing us all? Victor snapped. I accuse no one, Poirot said. Yet, but I see cracks in your stories. And cracks lead to the truth. A noise came from above, a soft thud, like a door closing. Poirot's hand went to his. Pistol. Stay here, he said, climbing the ladder. The group followed, ignoring his order. The servants' quarters were empty, the candle on the table still unlit. But the door to the kitchen was open, swaying slightly. Poirot moved through. The kitchen, the air cold and still. A glass lay shattered on the floor, its pieces glinting. Another clue, left on purpose. He picked up a shard, noticing a faint smear of lipstick. Red. Bold. None of the women wore lipstick like that. He led the group back to the dining room, the candles nearly gone. Someone was here, he said, holding up the glass. Someone with lipstick. Not Clara, not Anna. Who? Eleanor's face was blank. Beatrice shook her head. Henry's hands shook. Victor's eyes darted to the door. Carver stayed silent. Poirot sat opening the coded notebook again. The numbers were coordinates, he was sure, but some were dates. One matched the day Anna Reed died. Another, years ago, matched Mary Tate's disappearance. He looked at the list from the hidden room. Each name had a date, a role, and a mark, a small drawing of a cat. The cat, Poirot said, his voice low. It is not just a symbol. It is a person, someone who kills, someone who hides. Beatrice's voice was sharp. You're saying one of us is a murderer? I say someone in this house is the cat, Poirot said. And their alibi is crumbling. Scream cut through the air, sharp and close, from the direction of the library. Poirot ran, the group behind him. The library door was open, the book about Ravenwood on the table, flipped to a new page. It described a secret society, the Order of the Cat, sworn to protect Ravenwood's secrets. A name was circled in ink. Lord Ravenwood. Poirot's heart pounded. The Lord was part of this order, and someone continues his work. On the floor was another note, shaky handwriting. The cat sees all. Leave or join Clara. A friend? Poirot turned to the group. One of you is the cat, and I will find you. The candles flickered, the shadows closing in. Ravenwood's secrets were unraveling, and Poirot was close, so close, to the truth. Chapter 9. A trail of crimson drops. The candles in Ravenwood Manor's dining room were nearly gone, their flames weak and flickering, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. Hercule Poirot stood at the table, his sharp eyes fixed, on the group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver. The latest note found in the library lay before him. The cat sees all. Leave or join Clara. A friend. The words, scrawled in that shaky hand, were a threat and a challenge. Anna Reed was dead, Clara Tate was missing, and now a hidden room, a coded notebook, blue scarves, a knife, a candlestick, and a map marked cat pointed to a shadowy figure, the cat, who stalked them all. The book about Ravenwood had revealed the Order of the Cat, a secret society tied to Lord Ravenwood, and Poirot was certain one of these people knew more than they admitted. The air was thick with fear, the fog outside pressing against the windows like a living thing. The group's faces were pale, their eyes darting between the note and Poirot's calm, piercing gaze. Eleanor sat rigid, her hands clasped tightly. Henry's bandaged arm trembled, his glasses fogged. Victor's smirk was gone, his jaw tight. Beatrice clutched her shawl, muttering about curses. Carver stood by the door, his lantern casting jagged shadows, his scarred face unreadable. Poirot held up the note, his voice steady but sharp. The cat sees all. And I, Hercule Poirot, see the cat. Someone in this room is not what they seem. Clara is gone, Anna is dead, and the truth is close. Speak now, or the shadows will betray you. Eleanor's voice was cold. You keep accusing us, Mr. Poirot. But what proof do you have? We're trapped here just like you. Proof. Poirot's mustache twitched. I have letters, a knife, a map, a photograph, and now this note. Each is a thread, and the threads weave a net. The cat is caught in it, even if they do not. No. Victor leaned forward, his eyes narrow. You're chasing ghosts, detective. Maybe Clara ran off. Maybe Anna's death was an accident. An accident? Poirot raised an eyebrow. A woman stabbed in the garden? A girl taken from a locked room? No, monsieur, this is murder, and murder has a purpose. Beatrice's voice was low, almost a growl. It's the curse. Ravenwood takes what it wants. Always has. Poirot's gaze was sharp. There is no curse, madame. Only people. People lie. People kill. And people leave clues. Before anyone could respond, a sharp drip broke the silence, like water falling on stone. Poirot froze, his ears sharp. The sound came again from the hallway. He grabbed a candle, its flame small but steady, and moved to the door. The group followed, their footsteps loud in the quiet house. The hallway was dark, the air cold and heavy, with the smell of dust. The drip came again, steady and slow, from the direction of the staircase. Poirot held the candle high, its light catching something on the floor. A small dark spot, glistening red. Blood. He knelt, touching it with his finger. Fresh, still wet. A trail, he said, his voice low. Follow it. The group hesitated, their faces pale. Eleanor's lips tightened. Henry's hand shook. Victor's eyes darted to the shadows. Beatrice muttered a prayer. Carver gripped his lantern, his knuckles white. Poirot led the way, following the crimson drops up the stairs, each one a marker in the dark. The trail led to the hallway of locked rooms, stopping at the door to the bedroom where Poirot had found the candlestick. The door was shut, locked again. He pulled out his hairpin, his fingers quick and sure. The lock clicked and the door creaked open. Inside, the room was as he'd left it, rumpled bed, locked window, dusty wardrobe. But the candlestick was gone, and on the floor was a larger pool of blood, still wet, spreading across the wood. No body, no weapon, just the blood. Henry gasped, clutching his arm. Whose is it? Poirot's eyes narrowed. Not Clara's, I hope. But someone was here. Someone hurt. He checked the window, still locked, the latch unmoved. He tapped the walls, listening for hollow spots. Nothing. The wardrobe was empty, the hidden closet from yesterday undisturbed. He followed the blood trail back to the hallway where it continued, fainter now, toward the attic door. The brass key from the library fit. and the door opened with a groan. The attic was cold, the fog curling through the open window. The trail of blood led to a corner where it stopped at a pile of old blankets. Poirot pulled them aside, revealing nothing but dust. "Where's the body?" Victor asked, his voice tight. Poirot's mustache twitched. "There may be no body. Yet. But this blood is fresh. Someone is wounded, and they are close." He returned to the dining room, the group trailing behind. He spread his clues on the table. The letters, the notebook, the scarves, the knife, the photographs, the map, the new note. He added the brass key and a handkerchief stained with the fresh blood. "This trail," he said, "is a clue. The cat is hurt, or wants us to think so." Eleanor's voice was sharp. "You're saying it's a trick?" "I say nothing is what it seems," Poirot said. "But blood does not lie. It came from someone. And I will find them." He opened the coded notebook, its pages of numbers and initials glaring up at him. ARMT-LR, Anna Reed, Mary Tate, Lord Ravenwood. The dates matched their fates, but the numbers were coordinates, he was sure. He compared them to the map. One set pointed to the garden where the metal box was buried. Another pointed to the servants' quarters. A third new pointed to the attic. "We go to the attic again," Poirot said. "The blood leads us there." The group protested, their voices overlapping. Beatrice's eyes were wide. "It's a trap. The curse will take us all." "There is no curse," Poirot snapped. "Only a killer, and I will catch them." They climbed to the attic, the lantern's light weak against the fog. The blood trail was fainter now, but it led to a trunk in the corner, different from the one Poirot had opened before. The brass key fit its lock, and he opened it, the hinges creaking. Inside was a bundle of papers, a small dagger, and a blue scarf, stained with blood. Poirot's heart pounded. "Another scarf," he said, holding it up. The perfume was there, sweet and familiar. "Whose is this?" No one answered, but Eleanor's face paled. Henry's hands shook harder. Victor's eyes darted away. Beatrice clutched her shawl. Carver stared at the floor. Poirot checked the papers. More letters, written in a neat hand, not shaky. They were from Lord Ravenwood to Mary Tate, full of love and promises. One mentioned the Order of the Cat, a secret he swore to protect. Another spoke of danger, of enemies closing in. Mary Tate was part of this, Poirot said, and someone wanted her gone, like Anna, like Clara. A noise came from below, a soft scrape like a chair moving. Poirot spun, his pistol ready. "Stay here," he said, but the group followed, their fear stronger than his orders. In the dining room, a chair was tipped over, and a new note lay on the table. "The blood leads to the cat. Follow it, or lose another. A friend." Poirot's stomach twisted. The trail was deliberate, a path laid out by the killer. He followed it, back to the hallway, where the blood drops were smaller, leading to the library. The door was open, the book about Ravenwood on the table, now open to a new page. It described a hidden vault guarded by the Order of the Cat, where the family's secrets were kept. Poirot's eyes scanned the room. A shelf was slightly askew, revealing a crack in the wall. He pushed it and the shelf swung open, showing a small vault. The cellar key fit its lock. Inside was a box, heavy and cold. He opened it, finding gold coins, a ring with a cat emblem, and a list of names, members of the order. Eleanor's name was there, Beatrice's too, Henry's, Carver's, but not Victor's. Poirot turned to the group, holding up the list. "You are all part of this order, all but Monsieur Langston." "Why?" Victor's face was hard. "I told you I'm here for business, not some secret club." "Then why the letter?" Poirot asked. "Why were you called?" Victor didn't answer. Eleanor spoke, her voice cold. "The order was to protect Ravenwood. After the Lord died, we scattered. Someone is using it against us." "Who?" Poirot pressed. No one answered. The candles flickered, one going out. The shadows grew, and Poirot felt the weight of the house. The blood trail, the vault, the list. They were closing in on the cat. But Clara was still gone and time was running out. He led the group back to the dining room, the night deep and cold. "We stay here," he said. "No one moves. The cat is close and their alibi is gone." The shadows of suspicion were darker. Now the trail of crimson drops leading to the truth. Poirot would follow it no matter where it led. Chapter 10. The Secret in the Study. The candles in Ravenwood Manor's dining room were stubs now, their flames weak, barely pushing back the dark. Hercule Poirot stood at the table, his sharp eyes scanning the group. Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry, Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver. The air was thick with fear and suspicion, the fog outside pressing against the windows like a silent threat. The latest clue, a list from the hidden vault, named them all as members of the Order of the Cat, a secret society tied to Lord Ravenwood, except for Victor. The trail of blood from the attic, the coded notebook, the blue scarves, the knife, the photographs, the map marked cat, and the notes signed a friend all pointed to a killer hiding among them. Clara Tate was still missing. Anna Reed was dead, and the note from the library, "The cat sees all. Leave, or join Clara." A friend was a chilling warning. Poirot held up the list, his voice calm but piercing. "You are all part of this order, except Monsieur Langston. Yet you were all called here by letters. Someone plays a game and the study holds answers. We go there now." Eleanor's lips tightened. "The study? We've been there. You found that photograph?" "Yes," Poirot said, his mustache twitching, "but not everything. The study is the heart of this house. Secrets live there." Henry's hands shook, his bandaged arm pale in the candlelight. "This is madness. We're sitting ducks." "Madness, perhaps," Poirot said, "but with purpose. The cat is close, and their mask is slipping." Victor crossed his arms, his eyes narrow. "You're obsessed, detective. What if Clara's just hiding?" "Hiding?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "With blood on the floor? With notes threatening us all?" "No, monsieur. She is taken or worse, and the study will tell us more." Beatrice muttered, clutching her shawl. "The curse, it's the house, taking us one by one." "There is no curse," Poirot snapped. "Only a killer, and killers leave traces." A faint creak came from the hallway like a floorboard settling. Poirot's hand went to his pistol. He grabbed a candle, its flame small but steady, and moved to the door. The group followed, their footsteps loud in the silent house. The hallway was dark, the air cold and heavy with dust. The creak came again from the direction of the study. Poirot led the way, his senses sharp. The study door was shut but not locked. He pushed it open, the candlelight casting shadows across the desk, the scattered papers, and the photograph of the 8 people, 5 men, 3 women, smiling in front of Ravenwood Manor. The room smelled of old books and something sharp like ink. He set the candle on the desk, its light catching something new, a small ink bottle, tipped over, its contents pooling on a letter. Poirot picked it up, careful not to smudge the wet ink. The letter was fresh, written in the same shaky hand. "The cat hides in plain sight. Look closer. A friend." Poirot's heart beat faster. "This was written today," he said. "The cat was here." Eleanor gasped, her face pale. "How?" "We've been together." "Not always," Poirot said, his eyes scanning the group. "Someone moves unseen, through tunnels perhaps, or right under our noses." He searched the desk, his fingers quick. Under a pile of papers was a small diary, its leather cover worn. He opened it, finding pages filled with neat handwriting, not shaky. It belonged to Lord Ravenwood, dated years ago. The entries spoke of the Order of the Cat, a group sworn to protect a family secret, a treasure hidden in the manor. One entry caught his eye. "Mary Tate knows too much. She must be silenced." Poirot's stomach twisted. Mary Tate, Clara's aunt, was part of the secret. He flipped to another page. The cat must strike. Enemies are close. E, B, H, C, the. Order will guard the truth, he looked up, his eyes sharp. EBHC, Eleanor Beatrice Henry Carver. You were named by Lord Ravenwood. What is this treasure? Eleanor's face was stone. I don't know. The order was about loyalty, not treasure. Beatrice's eyes darkened. He's right. It was about protecting the family. Nothing more. Henry's voice shook. I was just a doctor. I didn't know about any treasure. Carver stayed silent, his lantern casting shadows. Victor smirked, but it was weak. Sounds like a fairy tale. Gold? In this dump? Poirot's gaze was steady. Fairy tales do not kill, monsieur, but secrets do. He searched the study further, checking the bookshelves. One book, a thick volume on local history, was slightly out of place. He pulled it, and a click sounded. The shelf moved, revealing a hidden panel. Behind it was a safe, old and heavy, with a dial lock. Poirot tried the cellar key, then the brass key. Neither fit. He studied the dial, noticing faint scratches around the numbers. A combination, he said, and someone has tried to open it. Victor leaned closer. You think the treasure's in there? Perhaps, Poirot said. He turned to the group. Who knows the combination? No one answered, but their eyes betrayed them. Eleanor's hands clenched. Henry's glasses slipped. Beatrice muttered, a prayer. Carver looked away. Victor's smirk faded. A soft drip came from the corner like water on wood. Poirot spun, his candle high. On the floor was a small pool of blood, fresh and red, trailing toward the door. The cat again, he said, his voice low. They are wounded. Or want us to think so. He followed the trail, the group behind him. It led to the hallway, then down the stairs, stopping at the kitchen. The door was ajar, the air cold. Inside, a glass lay shattered on the floor, its pieces mixed with more blood. Poirot knelt, finding a small button torn from a coat stained red. He held it up. Whose is this? No one spoke, but Henry's face went white. It looks like mine, he stammered, checking his coat. A button was missing. The thread frayed. Poirot's eyes narrowed. You were attacked, you said. Yet this button is here with fresh blood. Explain. Henry's hands shook. I don't know. I swear I was in the cellar. Your alibi crumbles, Doctor, Poirot said. But you are not alone. Someone here is the cat. A noise came from outside, a soft thud, like a branch falling. Poirot moved to the window, the fog thick and gray. He saw nothing, but he felt eyes watching. He turned to the group. We returned to the study. The safe holds the secret. They climbed back upstairs, the candlelight weak. Poirot studied the safe, trying numbers from the coded notebook. None worked. He checked the diary again, finding a cryptic note. The cat's eyes see the truth. 12-7-19. He tried the combination. 12-7-19. The safe clicked open. Inside was a small box, wooden and carved with a cat emblem. He opened it, finding a ring, a key, and a letter. The letter was from Lord Ravenwood, addressed to the order. If I die, the cat must protect the treasure. It lies beneath the manor, guarded by the chosen. Poirot's heart pounded. Beneath the manor, the cellar, perhaps, or deeper. Eleanor's voice was sharp. You're stirring up trouble, Mr. Poirot. Let it be. Trouble? Poirot said. A woman is dead. A girl is missing. I will not stop. A scream tore through the house, sharp and close, from the direction of the cellar. Poirot ran, the group behind him. The cellar door was open, the air damp and cold. The lantern's light caught something on the floor, a blue scarf, soaked in blood. Poirot knelt, his stomach twisting. Clara, he whispered. But there was no body, only the scarf. He held it up, the perfume strong. The cat is here, he said, and they are desperate. The shadows grew, the candles fading. The secret in the study had opened a door, but the truth was still hidden, and Poirot was running out of time. Chapter 11. The clock strikes midnight. The air in Ravenwood Manor was thick with dread, the fog outside pressing against the windows like a silent enemy. Hercule Poirot stood in the cellar, holding a blood-soaked blue scarf, its sweet perfume sharp in the damp air. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, stood around him, their faces pale in the lantern's flickering light. The scarf, found moments ago near the wooden chest with the Latin phrase, cave, perilous, was a chilling clue. Clara Tate was still missing. Anna Reed was dead, and the note signed, "A Friend," kept coming, each one a taunt from the mysterious cat. The safe in the study had revealed a letter from Lord Ravenwood, hinting at a treasure beneath the manor, guarded by the Order of the Cat, a secret society that included everyone in the group except Victor. The coded notebook, the photographs, the knife, the candlestick, the map, and now this scarf were pieces of a puzzle Poirot was determined to solve. The cellar was cold, the stone walls glistening with moisture. The blood on the scarf was fresh, too fresh, and there was no body. Poirot's heart beat steady, but his mind raced. "This scarf," he said, his voice calm but sharp, "is a message. The cat is close, and they are desperate." Eleanor's voice was tight. "Clara's? Is she dead?" "Not yet," Poirot said, his mustache twitching. "No body, only blood. The cat wants us to fear, to run. But I, Hercule Poirot, do not run." Henry's hands shook, his bandaged arm trembling. "This is madness. We're all in danger." "Danger, yes," Poirot said, "but also truth. The cat makes mistakes. This scarf is one." Victor crossed his arms, his eyes narrow. "You keep saying the cat. Maybe it's just a trick, someone playing games." "Games?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "A woman is dead. A girl is gone. This is no game, monsieur." Beatrice clutched her shawl, muttering, "It's the curse. Ravenwood takes what it wants." "There is no curse," Poirot snapped. "Only a killer, and killers leave traces." A low chime echoed through the house, slow and heavy. The group froze. It was the grandfather clock in the dining room, striking the hour. Poirot counted the EEO chimes, 1, 2, 3, and all the way to 12 midnight. The note from the cafe found days ago flashed in his mind. "Ravenwood, midnight, trust no one." He turned to the group, his voice low. "Midnight. The note said to be here at midnight. Something happens now." Carver's lantern shook, casting jagged shadows. "What do you mean?" Poirot's eyes were sharp. "The cat moves at midnight. We must watch, listen, and find them." A soft thud came from above, like a book falling. Poirot grabbed the lantern from Carver, his pistol in his other hand. "To the dining room, now." They climbed the cellar stairs, the air growing colder with each step. The dining room was dark, the candles gone out, leaving only the lantern's glow. The grandfather clock stood in the corner, its hands frozen at midnight. Poirot's heart beat faster. Something was wrong. He moved closer, noticing a faint scratch on the clock's wooden frame, a small cat carved into the wood. He touched it, and a click sounded. A panel in the clock's base popped open, revealing a small compartment. Inside was a folded paper, a key, and a vial of red liquid, blood, or something meant to look like it. Poirot unfolded the paper, his eyes scanning the shaky handwriting. "The clock strikes midnight. The cat is near. Find the truth or lose another." "A friend," Eleanor gasped, her face pale. "Another note? How?" "Someone placed it here," Poirot said, holding up the key. It was small, silver, with a cat emblem. "This opens something. We must find what." Henry's voice shook. "This is a trap, Mr. Poirot. We should leave." "Leave?" Poirot's gaze was steady. "And let the cat escape?" "No. We stay." Victor smirked, but it was weak. "You're obsessed, detective. What if it's just a prank?" "A prank does not kill," Poirot said. "Anna Reed is dead. Clara is gone. This key will lead us closer." He led the group through the house, checking doors and locks. The silver key didn't fit the study safe, the cellar chest, or the attic trunk. But in the library, a small cabinet near the fireplace caught his eye. Its lock had a cat emblem, matching the key. He turned it, the door clicking open. Inside was a leather-bound book, its cover embossed with a cat. Poirot opened it, finding pages of names, dates, and payments. The Order of the Cat, it seemed, was more than a secret society. It was a network, moving money, hiding secrets. Names he recognized were there: Lord Ravenwood, Mary Tate, Anna Reed, Eleanor, Beatrice, Henry, Carver. And one more, Victor Langston, listed as Consultant 1924. Poirot turned to Victor, his eyes sharp. "You lied, monsieur. You are part of the Order." Victor's face hardened. "That's old business. I was hired to move money, that's all. I'm not in their little club." "Then why hide it?" Poirot asked. "Your alibi crumbles like the others." Victor's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Eleanor spoke, her voice cold. "We all had roles. The Order protected the family's wealth. After the Lord died, it fell apart." "Protected," Poirot said, "or stole?" "Anna Reed was a secretary. Mary Tate was a maid. Both knew too much, yes?" Beatrice's eyes darkened. "Mary was trouble. She loved the Lord. He wrote her letters. When she vanished, we thought she ran off. But she did not," Poy Random said. "And Clara, her niece, came looking for answers. Now she is gone." A drip sounded in the library, soft but clear. Poirot spun, his lantern high. On the floor, near the shelf that hid the vault, was a small pool of blood, fresh and red. It trailed toward the door, disappearing into the hallway. "Chapter, cat again," Poirot said, his voice low. "They bleed, or they want us to think so." He followed the trail, the group behind him. It led to the kitchen, where a knife lay on the counter, its blade stained red. Beside it was a torn piece of cloth, blue and silky, smelling of perfume. Another scarf. Poirot held it up. "Whose is this? Speak." No one answered, but Henry's face went white. It looks like Clara's," he stammered. "Clara's?" Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Or the cat's." He moved to the dining room, the clock silent now. The blood trail stopped at the table, where a new note lay. "Midnight has passed, the cat moves, find Clara or she joins Anna. A friend." Poirot's stomach twisted. The cat was playing with them, leaving clues to taunt. He opened the coded notebook, checking the coordinates again. One set pointed to the library vault, another to the garden, a third to a room he hadn't found, a tower marked on the map. "We go to the tower," he said, his voice firm. "The cat hides there." The group protested, their voices overlapping. Beatrice's eyes were wide. "The tower? It's locked. No one's been there in years." "Then we unlock it," Poirot said, holding up the silver key. They climbed a narrow staircase at the back of the house, the air colder with each step. The tower door was heavy, its lock rusted but marked with a cat emblem. The silver key fit, turning with a loud click. The door opened, revealing a circular room with high windows, the fog swirling outside. Inside was a table, a single candle burning low, its wax forming the familiar C shape. On the table was a photograph, Clara Tate, tied to a chair, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. A note was pinned to it. "The cat waits. Find her before dawn. A friend." Poirot's heart pounded. "Clara is alive," he said. "But not for long." He searched the room, finding a small box under the table. The silver key opened it, revealing a ring with a cat emblem, a vial of perfume, and a letter from Lord Ravenwood. "The tower holds the heart of the Order. Protect it or the cat will strike." Poirot turned to the group, his eyes sharp. "The cat is one of you. Your alibis are lies. Eleanor, you hid your role in the Order. Henry, your wound is too convenient. Victor, you lied about your past. Beatrice, you know more about Mary Tate. Carver, you guard this house for a reason. Speak or the cat wins." No one answered, but the shadows grew, the candlelight fading. The clock had struck midnight, and the truth was close. Poirot would find Clara, and he would catch the cat no matter the cost. Chapter 12. Lies Behind the Smiles. The tower room in Ravenwood Manor was cold, the fog curling through the high windows like ghostly fingers. Hercule Poirot stood by the table, the flickering candlelight casting shadows across his face. The photograph of Clara Tate tied to a chair, her eyes wide with fear, lay before him, pinned with a note. "The cat waits. Find her before dawn." A friend. The words in that familiar shaky hand were a taunt, a challenge. Anna Reed was dead, Clara was missing, and the cat, the killer tied to the mysterious Order of the Cat, was among them. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, stood around him, their faces a mix of fear and suspicion, their smiles long gone. The clues, the coded notebook, blue scarves, knife, candlestick, photographs, map, keys, and blood, trails pointed to a secret hidden beneath the manor, guarded by the Order. Poirot's gray cells worked fast, piecing together the lies behind their words. The air was heavy, the smell of wax and damp stone thick in the tower. The candle's flame danced, forming the familiar C shape in its wax. Poirot held up the photograph, his voice calm but sharp. "Clara is alive for now, but the cat is close and their lies are crumbling. Each of you hides something. The time for smiles is over." Eleanor's face was stiff, her eyes cold. "You accuse us again, Mr. Poirot? We're victims, trapped in this cursed house." "Victims?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Or players in a game? You are all part of the Order of the Cat, except Monsieur Langston, who lied about his role. Your alibis are weak, your story's full of holes. The cat hides behind your smiles, but I see through them." Henry's hand shook, his bandaged arm pale. "I told you I was attacked. I don't know anything." "Your wound is convenient, Doctor," Poirot said. "And your button found with blood. Explain." Henry stammered, his glasses slipping. I don't know how it got there." Victor's eyes narrowed, his voice low. "You're chasing shadows, Detective. Maybe Clara staged this, maybe she's the cat." "Clara?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "A girl, scared and alone, tied in a photograph." "No, monsieur. The cat is cleverer. And you, why hide your part in the Order?" Victor shrugged, but his jaw was tight. "Old business. I moved money for them, nothing more." Beatrice clutched her shawl, muttering, "It's the curse. Ravenwood takes everyone. Mary, Anna, now Clara." "There is no curse," Poirot snapped. "Only lies. Madame Holt, you knew Mary Tate. What did she know that made her dangerous?" Beatrice's eyes darkened. "She loved the Lord. She found something. Papers, maybe. Then she was gone." Carver stayed silent, his lantern casting jagged shadows. Poirot turned to him. "And you, Monsieur Carver? You guard this house. For what?" Carver's scarred face was grim. "I told you I owed the family, that's all." "Lies," Poirot said. "All of you, hiding the truth. But the truth leaves traces, and I will find them." A soft creak came from the staircase below, like a step on old wood. Poirot's hand went to his pistol. He grabbed the candle, its flame weak but steady, and moved to the door. "Stay together," he said, descending the narrow stairs. The group followed, their breaths loud in the quiet. The hallway was dark, the air cold and heavy with dust. The creak came again from the direction of the study. Poirot led the way, his senses sharp. The study door was ajar, a faint glow inside. He pushed it open, the candlelight catching the desk, the scattered papers, and the photograph of the 8 people, 5 men, 3 women, smiling in front of Ravenwood. Something new was on the desk, a small mirror cracked at the edge reflecting the candle's flame. Beside it was a note in the shaky hand. "The mirror shows the truth. Look behind the smiles. A friend." Poirot's heart beat faster. "The cat was here," he said, picking up the mirror. It was old, its frame carved with tiny cats. He turned it over, finding a small engraving. To Mary, with love, R. Lord Ravenwood, Poirot murmured. He gave this to Mary Tate. But why leave it now? Eleanor's voice was sharp. You're wasting time. Clara's in danger and you're playing with mirrors. Playing. Poirot's eyes were hard. This mirror is a clue. The cat wants us to see something. He searched the desk, finding a hidden drawer he'd missed before. Inside was a letter written in Lord Ravenwood's neat hand. Mary, the order is in danger. The treasure must stay hidden. If they find it, all is lost. Trust only the cat. R. Poirot's mind raced. The treasure beneath the manor. Mary Tate knew about it. So did Anna Reed. And now Clara. He looked at the group. The cat protects the treasure. One of you is the cat, and you will not escape. Victor smirked, but it was weak. Treasure? Sounds like a fairy tale. Fairy tales do not kill, Poirot said, but secrets do. A drip sounded in the corner, soft but clear. Poirot spun, his candle high. On the floor was a small pool of blood, fresh and red, trailing toward the bookshelf. He followed it, the group behind him. The trail stopped at the shelf that hid the vault. He pushed it open, revealing the safe from before. The silver key from the clock fit its lock, and it opened with a click. Inside was another box, smaller, with a cat emblem. Poirot opened it, finding a locket. Gold, like the one Anna Reed wore. Inside was a tiny photograph of a man, dark-haired, sharp-jawed. The same man from the group photograph. Who is this? Poirot asked, holding up the locket. No one answered, but Henry's face went white. I don't know, he stammered. Lies, Poirot said. This man is tied to the order. To the cat. A noise came from outside, a soft thud, like a stone hitting the ground. Poirot moved to the window, the fog thick and gray. He saw nothing, but he felt eyes watching. He turned to the group. We go to the garden. The treasure is beneath the manor and the cat guards it. They protested, their voices overlapping. Beatrice's eyes were wide. The garden? At night? It's madness. Madness is staying here, doing nothing, Poirot said. Clara is alive. We find her. Carver led the way with his lantern, the fog swallowing the garden. Poirot followed the coordinates from the notebook, counting steps from the clearing where Anna's body was found. The blood trail was here, too faint but fresh, leading to a stone bench, its base cracked. Poirot knelt, pushing the dirt aside. Underneath was a trapdoor hidden in the grass. He tried the silver key. It fit, the lock clicking open. The trapdoor revealed a tunnel, dark and narrow, smelling of earth and metal. Another secret, Poirot said. The cat moves through these tunnels. He descended, the group behind him. The tunnel was tight, the walls slimy. The lantern's light caught something on the ground, a blue scarf stained with blood. Poirot picked it up, the perfume strong. Clara's? He asked. Eleanor's face paled. It looks like hers. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Or the cat's. The tunnel led to a chamber, stone-walled and cold. In the center was a chest, carved with a cat emblem. The silver key opened it, revealing gold coins, jewels, and a letter. The order of the cat guards this treasure. Betray it and the cat strikes. R. Poirot turned to the group. This is what Anna died for, what Mary knew, what Clara sought, and one of you guards it. A scream echoed through the tunnel, sharp and close. Poirot ran toward it, the lantern bouncing. The sound came from above in the house. They climbed back through the trapdoor, emerging in the garden. The scream came again from the library. Poirot burst into the library, finding a candle burning on the table, its wax forming the C shape. A new note lay beside it. The smiles hide the cat. Clara is close. Find her, or she dies. A friend. Poirot's heart pounded. The cat is desperate, he said. Their lies are breaking. He searched the library, finding a loose floorboard under a rug. It lifted, revealing a small box. Inside was another photograph. Clara, tied in a room with stone walls. The tower? The cellar? He couldn't tell. "The cat is watching," Poirot said. "But I am watching too. Your smiles are gone and the truth is near." The fog pressed closer, the candles fading. The lies behind the smiles were crumbling, and Poirot would catch the cat before dawn. Chapter 13. The Final Confrontation. The fog clung to Ravenwood Manor like a shroud, its gray tendrils seeping through the cracks in the old walls. Hercule Poirot stood in the library, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows across the shelves. The latest note found moments ago lay on the table. "The smiles hide the cat. Clara is close. Find her, or she dies. A friend." The shaky handwriting was a taunt, a final challenge from the cat, the killer who had haunted the manor since Anna Reed's death. Clara Tate was still missing, her photograph showing her tied and terrified. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Dr. Henry Walsh, Victor Langston, Beatrice Holt, and John Carver, stood around him, their faces pale and tense, their lies exposed. The clues, the coded notebook, blue scarves, knife, candlestick, photographs, map, keys, blood trails, and the treasure beneath the manor, had led to this moment. Poirot's gray cells were sharp, ready to unmask the cat and save Clara before dawn. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of wax and fear. The candle's wax formed the familiar C shape, a symbol that had followed them through the house. Poirot held up the photograph of Clara, his voice calm but piercing. "Clara is alive, but not for long. The cat is among us. Their lies, broken. This is the final confrontation. Speak now, or the truth will destroy you." Eleanor's eyes were cold, her hands clenched. "You've accused us all, Mr. Poirot, but you have no proof. We're trapped, just like you." "Proof?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "I have clues, threads woven into a net. The cat is caught, even if they do not see it." Henry's voice shook, his bandaged arm trembling. "I'm no killer. I was attacked." "Your wound is a lie, Doctor," Poirot said. "Your button, found with blood. Your name in the order of the cat. You hide something." Victor's jaw was tight, his smirk gone. "You're grasping, Detective. Maybe Clara's the cat, playing us all." "Clara?" Poirot's eyes narrowed. "A girl tied and scared? No, monsieur, you lied about your role in the order." "Why?" Victor shrugged, but his eyes darted away. "I told you, old business. I'm not your cat." Beatrice clutched her shawl, her voice low. "It's the curse. Ravenwood takes what it wants. You can't stop it." "There is no curse," Poirot snapped. "Only a killer. Madame Holt, you knew Mary Tate's secret." "What was it?" Beatrice's eyes darkened. "She loved the Lord. She found papers, dangerous ones, then she was gone." Carver stayed silent, his lantern casting jagged shadows. Poirot turned to him. "And you, Monsieur Carver? You guard this house for the order. What do you hide?" Carver's scarred face was grim. "I owed the family. That's all." "Lies," Poirot said. "All of you, hiding behind smiles. But the smiles are gone and the cat is cornered." A soft thud came from the hallway like a book falling. Poirot's hand went to his pistol. He grabbed the candle, its flame weak but steady, and moved to the door. "Stay together," he said, stepping into the dark hallway. The group followed, their footsteps loud in the silence. The thud came again, from the direction of the dining room. Poirot led the way, the lantern's light cutting through the fog that seeped inside. The dining room was cold, the grandfather clock silent, its hands still at midnight. On the table was a new note in the shaky hand. "The cat's game ends. Clara waits below. Find her, or she joins the others." A friend. Poirot's heart pounded. "Below," he said. "The cellar, the treasure chamber." Eleanor's voice was sharp. "The cellar again? It's a trap." "Trap or not," Poirot said. "Clara is there. We go now." They descended to the cellar, the air damp and cold. The wooden chest with cave perilous stood in the corner untouched. The blood trail from earlier was gone, but Poirot's eyes caught something new, a faint scratch on the floor near the tunnel door. He pushed it open, the silver key from the clock fitting its lock. The tunnel was narrow, the walls slimy. The lantern's light caught a fresh pool of blood leading deeper. Poirot followed it, the group behind him, their breaths loud. The tunnel opened into the stone chamber from before where the treasure chest sat, filled with gold and jewels. But now, something else was there. A chair, and tied to it was Clara Tate. Clara's face was pale, her blonde curls matted with sweat. Her eyes were wide, her mouth gagged with a blue scarf. She struggled, her chair creaking. Poirot rushed to her, cutting the ropes with the knife from the study. "Mademoiselle Tate, you are safe," he said, his voice gentle but firm. Clara gasped as the gag fell, her voice weak. They took me. The cat. They're here." "Who?" Poirot asked, his eyes scanning the group. Clara's gaze darted to them, fear in her eyes. "I didn't see their face, but they wore a ring, a cat ring." Poirot's mind raced. The ring from the vault with the cat emblem. He turned to the group, his pistol ready. "Show your hands, now." They hesitated, then raised their hands. Eleanor's were bare, Henry's too, his bandage loose. Victor's hands were empty. Beatrice's shawl hid hers, but she opened them slowly. No ring. Carver's hands were scarred, but one finger held a faint mark like a ring had been there. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Monsieur Carver, where is your ring?" Carver's face hardened. "Lost it years ago." "Lies," Poirot said. "You are the cat." Carver took a step back, his lantern shaking. "You're wrong, detective, I'm no killer." "Then explain," Poirot said, his voice sharp. "The ring, the blood, the order. You guard this treasure, yes?" Carver's eyes darted to the chest, then back to Poirot. I protected the family. The order was my duty." "And killing?" Poirot pressed. "Anna Reed? Mary Tate? Clara?" "No," Carver shouted, his voice breaking. "I didn't. Kill them." A noise came from the tunnel, a soft scrape like a shoe on stone. Poirot spun, his pistol raised. A shadow moved in the dark, quick and silent. "Show yourself," he called. The shadow stepped into the light, and Poirot's breath caught. It was a woman, tall and thin with dark hair and sharp eyes. She wore a blue scarf stained with blood and a ring with a cat emblem glinted on her finger. Her face was familiar, one of the women from the group photograph. "Who are you?" Poirot demanded. She smiled, cold and cruel. "I'm the cat," she said. "And you're too late," Clara screamed, clutching Poirot. The group gasped, stepping back. Eleanor's face paled. Henry's glasses fell. Victor's hands clenched. Beatrice muttered a prayer. Poirot's voice was steady. "You are Mary Tate." The woman's smile faded. "Clever, Mr. Poirot. Yes, I'm Mary. I never left Ravenwood." "But you disappeared," Poirot said. "Why?" Mary's eyes darkened. "The Lord loved me. He told me about the treasure, the order, but they—" She pointed to the group. "Wanted it for themselves. They tried to kill me. I hid in the tunnels, in the shadows. I became the cat." "And Anna Reed?" Poirot asked. "She knew too much," Mary said. "She found the papers like I did. She had to die." "And Clara?" Poirot's grip on the pistol tightened. Mary's smile returned. "She came looking for me. I took her to scare you, to make you leave." Poirot's eyes flicked to the group. "And them? Your old friends?" "They're traitors," Mary spat. "They let the Lord die. They hid the truth." Eleanor stepped forward, her voice shaking. "We didn't kill him. It was a heart attack." "Poison," Mary said. "You all knew." Poirot's mind raced. The coded notebook, the blood trails, the notes. It was Mary, moving through the tunnels, leaving clues to taunt them. But something was off. Her story was too neat. "You wrote the letters," Poirot said. Signed A. Friend. Why? To bring you here, Mary said. I wanted you to see their lies, to expose them. And the blood? Poirot asked, holding up the scarf. Yours? Mary nodded. A trick, to keep you guessing. Poirot's mustache twitched. A clever trick, but not clever enough. You are not alone. Mary's eyes widened. What? Poirot turned to the E group, his voice sharp. One of you helped her. The cat has two faces. A shot rang out loud and sudden from the tunnel. Mary gasped, clutching her side, blood seeping through her dress. She fell, her ring clattering on the stone. Poirot spun, his pistol raised, but the shooter was gone, vanished into the dark. He knelt by Mary, checking her pulse. Weak, but alive. Who? He asked. Who helped you? Mary's voice was a whisper. The doctor. Poirot stood, turning to Henry. Dr. Walsh. You. Henry's face was white, his glasses on the floor. No, I didn't. Your button, Poirot said. Your wound, a fake. You knew Mary was alive. You helped her kill Anna. Henry shook his head, backing away. I didn't kill anyone. You poisoned Lord Ravenwood, Poirot said. Mary helped you cover it. But Anna found out, yes? So you killed her. And Clara was next. Henry's eyes darted to the tunnel, then back to Poirot. He lunged, grabbing Clara, a knife at her throat. Stay back, he shouted. Poirot's pistol was steady. Let her go, Doctor, the game is over. Henry's voice shook. I had to. The Lord was weak. The treasure was ours. Mary understood. Mary groaned, her eyes fluttering. You betrayed me. Poirot took a step forward, his voice calm. You are caught, Dr. Walsh. The police will come. Let Clara go. Henry's hand trembled, the knife shaking. Clara's eyes were wide, tears streaming. Poirot's gaze was steady, his gray cells sharp. He saw the fear in Henry's eyes, the crack in his resolve. Now, Poirot said, his voice like steel. Henry's shoulders slumped, the knife falling. Clara ran to Poirot, sobbing. Victor tackled Henry, pinning him to the ground. Carver grabbed the knife, his face grim. Poirot knelt by Mary, her breathing shallow. The truth, he said. All of it. Mary's voice was faint. Henry poisoned the Lord. I hid to protect the treasure. I killed Anna. But, Henry, he used me. She closed her eyes, her breath stopping. Poirot stood, his heart heavy. The cat was caught, but at a cost. He turned to the group. It is over. The police will handle Dr. Walsh. Clara is safe. Eleanor's face was pale. And the treasure? It stays hidden, Poirot said. Some secrets are better buried. The fog began to lift as dawn broke, the manor's shadows fading. Poirot led Clara out, the group following. Henry was tied, silent, his lies exposed. Ravenwood's secrets were uncovered. The cat's game ended. Poirot looked back at the manor, its dark windows watching. The truth always wins, he said, his voice soft but sure. Chapter 14. Echoes of the past. The dawn broke over Ravenwood Manor, thin rays of light piercing the fading fog. The air was cold, carrying the scent of wet grass and old stone. Hercule Poirot stood in the garden, his polished shoes muddy, his coat buttoned against the chill. The manor loomed behind him, its dark windows like eyes that had seen too much. Clara Tate sat on a bench nearby, wrapped in a blanket, her blonde curls tangled but her eyes clearer now, free of fear. The group, Eleanor Grayson, Victor Langston, and Beatrice Holt, stood at a distance, their faces drawn and silent. John Carver was inside, guarding Dr. Henry Walsh, who was tied and waiting for the police. Mary Tate, the cat, lay dead. In the cellar, her secrets spilled in her final moments. Anna Reed's murder, Clara's abduction, the order of the cat, the hidden treasure, all had been unraveled in the night's final confrontation. But Poirot's mind, sharp as ever, still turned over the echoes of the past, the threads that lingered. The police had been called, their arrival expected soon. Poirot's gray cells worked, piecing together the final details. The coded notebook, the blue scarves, the knife, the candlestick, the photographs, the map, the keys, the blood trails, and the notes signed "A Friend" had led him to Mary, Tate and Henry Walsh, the killers behind Ravenwood's darkness. Mary, driven by betrayal and love for Lord Ravenwood, had killed Anna Reed to protect the treasure. Henry, her secret ally, had poisoned the Lord years ago and used Mary to cover his tracks. Their lies, hidden behind smiles, had crumbled under Poirot's relentless pursuit of truth. But questions remained, small, nagging questions, like shadows, in the fog. Poirot turned to Clara, his voice gentle but firm. "Mademoiselle Tate, you are safe now. But I must know, what did you see before the cat took you?" Clara's hands trembled, clutching the blanket. "It was dark. I was in the garden looking for answers about my aunt. Someone grabbed me from behind. They wore a scarf blue and I smelled perfume. Then I woke up in that chair in the cellar." Poirot nodded, his mustache twitching. The scarf, the perfume, Mary's signature. "And the ring? The cat ring?" Clara's eyes widened. "I saw it on their hand. It glinted in the light. I thought it was my aunt, but I wasn't sure." "You were brave," Poirot said, patting her shoulder. "Your courage helped us find the truth." He walked toward the group, his eyes sharp. Eleanor, Beatrice, and Victor stood near the rusted gate, their faces a mix of relief and guilt. The police would question them, but Poirot had one last task to tie up the loose ends of their stories. "Madame Grayson," Poirot said, stopping before Eleanor, "you were part of the Order of the Cat. You knew Lord Ravenwood's secrets. Why did you not speak?" Eleanor's lips tightened, her sharp features pale. "I swore an oath. The order was about protecting the family, not hurting anyone. When the Lord died, I thought it was over. I didn't know about Mary or Henry." Poirot's gaze was steady. "But you suspected poison, yes? You stayed silent." Eleanor looked away, her voice low. "I wasn't sure. I didn't want to believe it." Poirot turned to Beatrice. Her shawl clutched tight. "Madame Holt, you knew Mary Tate best. You said she found papers. What were they?" Beatrice's eyes were dark, haunted. "Letters from the Lord. They talked about the treasure, the order. Mary was scared, said someone was watching her. I told her to leave, but she wouldn't. Then she was gone." "You could have told me," Poirot said. "Your silence helped the cat." Beatrice's shoulders slumped. "I was afraid. This house, it takes everything." Poirot's mustache twitched. He did not believe in curses, but he understood fear. He turned to Victor, whose arms were crossed, his face hard. "Monsieur Langston, you lied about your role in the order. You moved money, yes. But for whom?" Victor's jaw tightened. "I worked for the Lord, then for Henry. Small jobs, nothing big. I didn't know about the murders." "But you came for the treasure," Poirot said. "The letter promised money, yes?" Victor nodded, his smirk gone. "Yeah. I thought it was a deal, not a death trap." Poirot studied him. Victor's story held, but his greed had made him blind. "You are lucky, monsieur. Greed could have killed you." He walked back to the manor, the group trailing behind. Carver stood in the dining room, his lantern on the table, Henry tied to a chair. Henry's face was pale, his glasses missing, his eyes empty. "It's over, Doctor," Poirot said. "But I must know, why poison Lord Ravenwood?" Henry's voice was weak, broken. He was weak. The order was failing. The treasure, it was ours. Mary helped me, said it was for the family. But she went mad, hiding in the tunnels, calling herself the cat. "And Anna Reed?" Poirot asked. "She found the Lord's diary," Henry said. "She knew about the poison. Mary killed her, but I let it happen." Poirot's eyes narrowed. And Clara? To scare you, Henry said. Mary wanted you gone. I just wanted the treasure. Poirot nodded, his heart heavy. Greed and betrayal, the oldest motives. He turned to Carver. Monsieur Carver, you knew Mary was alive, yes? You guarded the house for her. Carver's scarred face was grim. I suspected. She came to me years ago, said she was hiding. I owed the Lord, so I kept quiet. Didn't know she was killing. Your silence cost lives, Poirot said. But you helped save Clara, that is something. A rumble came from outside. The police, their car cutting through the fog. Poirot stepped into the garden, meeting the officers. The red-faced one from before nodded. Mr. Poirot, you've been busy. What's the story? Poirot explained, his voice clear. Anna's murder, Clara's abduction, Mary Tate's return as the cat, Henry's betrayal. He handed over the clues, the notebook, the scarves, the knife, the photographs, the notes. Dr. Walsh is your killer, with Mary Tate. She is dead in the cellar. Clara is safe. The officers took Henry, their faces grim. Clara was led to the car, a blanket around her shoulders. Eleanor, Beatrice, Victor, and Carver would be questioned, but their roles were minor, their secrets exposed. The treasure, Poirot insisted, should stay hidden, its curse too heavy. As the police left, Poirot stood alone in the garden, the manor silent behind him. He pulled out the locket from Anna Reed's body, opening it to the tiny photograph of the dark-haired man. He now knew it was Lord Ravenwood, loved by Mary, betrayed by Henry. The photograph of the 8 people, 5 men, 3 women, smiled up at him from his pocket. He recognized them now. Lord Ravenwood, Mary Tate, Eleanor, Beatrice, Henry, Carver, and 2 others long gone. Their smiles hid lies, but the truth had won. He walked to the clearing where Anna's body was found, the grass still stained faintly red. The fog was gone, the manor's shadow shrinking in the morning light. Poirot's mind turned to the echoes of the past, Mary's love, Henry's greed, the Order's secrets. They had shaped Ravenwood, turned it into a place of death. But now, it was quiet. Clara's voice broke his thoughts. Mr. Poirot? Thank you. He turned, bowing slightly. Mademoiselle, it is my duty. Go home. Live well. Clara nodded, climbing into the police car. The engine roared, and they were gone, leaving Poirot alone with the manor. He walked back inside, one last time, to the dining room. The grandfather clock stood silent, its hands still at midnight. The candle stubs were cold, their wax C shapes a final reminder of the cat. Poirot picked up the mirror from the study, its cracked surface reflecting his face. The truth always shines, he said softly, slipping it into his pocket. He left the manor, the gate creaking behind him. The village of Blackthorn waited, and then London, where new cases would call. But Ravenwood's echoes would stay with him, the lies, the blood, the cat's desperate game. Hercule Poirot had won, as he always did, but the past he knew never truly let go.